microphone above his hip. He did supper fools and he never took no lip. And after cereal for Arian, then he came, he saw some shit he said.
What up? We got it. We fucking won. Yeah! Fuck that dude. Fuck that dude forever. Oh, what the fuck is a Jantis? I fucking hate that guy. Jesus Christ, that was fucking weird. All right, well, you know what? Hi. Welcome to Twitchtok, which is not Jantis talk. Let's get this fucking hat off. I hate hats. Here we go. Welcome. Fuck Jantis. Twitchtok begins now, baby. We did it! What's going on the trial, Chimpo?
This is a labeling trick. It's called lying.
The city of Dubai is a fucking joke.
The suburban liberal wine moms.
Oh, good, you wouldn't belong getting fresh, but
90.
a whole lot.
I gotta get on my bus to go back to Florida, so thank you very much.
Don't feel bad.
Shut up!
I'm here live, I'm not a cat.
I have a bad case of diarrhea. I have a bad case of diarrhea.
Y'all better get hypey in this bitch, because I need some fucking blue line.
It's made out of PP, and if you just have a lot of PP, you can recycle it easily.
Your name's not Buttfucker 3000, you yo-ho.
That's a 10.
Nobody confronts you. That's the problem. They do all the time. Well, then what the fuck's wrong with you?
From time to time, apology accepted.
This is a labeling trick. It's called lying.
Ah, there we go. All right, good enough. We did it, baby. That's a filter in, son. How you doing? What up, guys, and welcome to Twitchtok. Change it to sub-only chat. Make him pay to speak. That would be really funny. I don't like to do that though. Okay, let's. I want to see Rittenhouse cry.
Your approach to car source number 3.
As I'm walking down Sheridan Road, I hear somebody scream, "Burn in hell," and I replied with friendly, 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 to let them know, hey, I'm just here to help. I don't want any problems. I just want to put out the fires if there are any. I continue walking, and then I notice the Duramax. I notice a flame in the back seat of the Duramax, and I step towards the Duramax, and as I'm stepping forward, I believe his name is now Joshua Zeminski. He steps towards me with a pistol in his hand, and as I'm walking towards to put out the fire, I drop the fire extinguisher and I take a step back.
Okay. When you step back from Mr. Zeminski, what's your plan?
My plan is to get out of that situation and go back north down Sheridan Road to where the car source lot number 2 was. And
did you get back? Were you able to go in a northerly direction?
I wasn't.
Describe what happens.
Once I take that step back, I look over my shoulder, and Mr. Rosenbaum was now running from my right side, and I was cornered from in front of me with Mr. Zeminski, and there were there were 3 people right there.
Take a deep breath, Kyle.
That's what
I don't know if it's acting, Kong. I think he's trying really hard not to cry.
We're going to just take time for our break anyway. You can just relax for a minute, sir. We're going to take a break about 10 minutes, and please don't talk about the case during the break. Read, watch, or listen to any economy trap.
Hi, everyone. George.
No. No, George. No. No, I think like people say that like stuff like that, oh, you know, bad acting or whatever. Like I think when you're trying really hard not to cry, it looks like fake crying. I'm actually suspect of like really good crying, honestly. Like when people like cry really well, like that creeps me out. So let's do our president and vice president approval
Good
rating
morning,
stuff,
everybody. Happy Tuesday. We have an amazing...
Too loud, sorry.
You guys are all eagerly anticipating. That is the release of Pete Buttigieg's documentary. Right up in Politico. It's actually kind of interesting. I expected Politico to just do like a total fluff piece.
Fluff job.
Yeah, but it is a little bit revealing. So we'll give you those details. A new university is being launched down in Austin, Texas, with some members of what used to be called, at least, I don't know, they still call themselves the intellectual dark web. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. We've got Glenn Greenwald on the show to talk about the very latest embarrassment for the media with regards to Russiagate. But we wanted to start with some additional, just devastating poll numbers for the Biden administration.
Right, and the way that we're trying to do this is not just focus on pure approval, but try to dig down into the core of what Americans' concerns about Biden are. And I think there is no more revealing one than this. So let's put this up there on the screen. This is USA Today, Suffolk University poll, which is that nearly 2/3 of Americans, 64%, said they did not want Biden to run for a second term in 2024. That included 28% of Democrats, so more than a quarter. And that opposition to Trump running for another term was also nearly as high, at 58%. That included 24% of Republicans, so AKA about a quarter. I think that just crystallizes everything. The problem with our politics, which is we had two options, neither of whom a lot of people really wanted. People felt trapped, largely, you know, in reference to their cultural positions. And so they had to go out and vote in order to vote against the other guy. But when you look at that amount of negative and partisanship, that is not the place for a healthy democracy. And Biden in particular, since he's the president and he's going to bear the brunt of the national mood, and frankly, he should, is really showing people, for a lot of those who showed up to vote for him, even though they kind of held their nose, that, you know, holding their nose was the right decision. So let's put this up there on the screen, which is that nearly half of those surveyed, nearly half, 46%, said that Biden has done a worse job as president than they expected, including 16% of those who voted for him. And independents, by a 7-to-1 margin, have said that he's done a worse job, not better, than they expected. So that almost is the worst one, Crystal. Partisan Republicans are always going to hate Biden. Democrats generally going to stick with their guy. He's still got 84% there saying he's doing a better job. But amongst the independents have a 7-to-1, you know, ratio in terms of those who say you're doing worse than doing better. That is a total disaster. And it just reflects the mood of the country about how things are not working the way they should. Nothing is happening here in Washington. You know, where all of the necessities and basics of day-to-day life I'm getting to in my monologue even more today. But it's just, think prices are skyrocketing, things don't work properly, and he's just nowhere to be seen. I don't even know what he did yesterday. Like, was he in front of a camera? You know, sometimes when we're planning a show, we have to go dig around. We're like, did he make a comment here? Like, where is the president? I have no idea.
Yeah, that's so
Can we
true.
get some sound of him saying something for Trump? You know, better or worse.
Yeah.
He always
Polar
weighed in.
opposite end of the spectrum there.
He always had a comment on something.
Yeah. No, that actually is a really good point. We use so little of Biden sound in the show,
anywhere.
Not because we don't want to, but because there just isn't that much of it relevant to the topics that we're covering to speak of. And if you look into these numbers too, and some of the other poll numbers we're going to get to, you see that there's a sense that he's not focused on the issues that people care about. Oh, yeah. And especially for people whose number one issue is the economy, they feel like he does not have his eye on the ball with regards to the economy. And, you know, out of the gates, there was a very different sentiment. So it's not like, oh, he's just gotten dealt a bad hand here. National winds are against him. Coronavirus continues. Out of the gates, when there was action and there was a kind of assertive take charge, this is what we're doing, this is how we're getting back on track, we're gonna get checks out to everybody, everybody's feeling a little more hopeful, like things were headed in the right direction, his approval ratings were quite high. They were really quite high. He was very hard to demonize. Republicans had effectively at that point sort of given up on even trying to demonize him and make him into the villain. They're instead trying all these absurd trying to pretend like AOC is really in charge of the White House or something like that, which wasn't really working all that well. So it's not like this was inevitable. He allowed his agenda to get completely mired and bogged down in DC, so people feel like you're not actually doing much of anything except arguing and every week killing another popular provision of your agenda that we actually voted for and wanted to see implemented. He isn't visible in terms of sort of taking charge of where the country is going. And so, yeah, I think a lot of people feel disappointed. It was a low bar, too, that he stepped into. You could imagine another scenario where, because, look, the pandemic's not over, but things are definitely improved from the worst of that crisis. The economic recession is not over. There are still a lot of problems in the economy, especially with regards to prices going up and supply chain issues, but we're also in a much less terrifying and better place than we were previously. You could see how actually some of these trends could have inured to his benefit if people had the sense that he was on top and focused on the things that they are, in fact, concerned about at this point.
That's what it really is. I believe he could survive all of this if he was just a semi-competent president. I mean, I don't know another president who came in with promise of all he had to do was get the checks out of the door and vaccines people's arms and do some semi-competent legislating with a decent enough majority in the House and in the Senate, and he couldn't do any of that. It's amazing. And then in terms of, addressing the basics, people know Biden is not paying attention. Take a look at the CNN poll, and you mentioned some of this. The majority of Americans say that Biden is not paying attention to the nation's most important issues. And among those Americans who say the economy is the most pressing problem, aka 36%, among that group, 72% say that Biden has not been attentive to the right issues. That is the dynamic that is reversed amongst the smaller 20% who consider coronavirus the top problem. So Biden is doing fine on COVID. He's got like a 79% approval rating amongst Americans there in the CNN poll. But the more and more, and I keep trying to emphasize this, COVID is moving to the back burner in terms of electoral politics in particular. People are pissed off about the economy. Majority of Americans have the vaccine. Yes, there are many people who are unvaccinated, hospitalization rates, etc. But that is on the back of the minds for most. It's about school disruption. It's about, I can't get the stuff. I can't go out to eat. Things are too expensive. There are all kinds of different problems. And when you go and you look at this in particular, what you find is that the number of strong disapprovals continues to increase, Crystal. 36% say they strongly disapprove of Biden's handling of the presidency. And that is actually about the same as whenever they were asked for the strength of approval in April. So he had an about switch from a 36% strong approval back in April to now a 36% strong disapproval here today in the month of November. And as things continue to trend that way, as more disruption in the economy continues to happen, which we will have, and I'm going to be talking about that for household heating expenses in my monologue, but that's just one other facet of the household balance sheet. Almost every single day-to-day expense, everything that people are doing is more expensive or is inconvenient in some way. Nothing is going back to normal. The president doesn't seem to have a plan to get everything back to normal. So honestly, this could not even be the lowest point. I really do think it could get worse, much worse, actually, for the Democratic climate in the midterms from a year from now.
I certainly think that is a possibility. Of course, I don't underestimate the opportunity Republicans will, do everything they can to
I forgot about who the
make it difficult for themselves to make any gains. I mean, listen, I think Democrats are screwed in the midterms. I've been saying that for a long time. We've both been saying that
that's right.
since long before Virginia, not because of, critical race theory in Loudoun County or whatever, just because if you look at the fact that 70% of Americans are like, things are not going well, we're on the wrong track, that is a devastating number president's approval rating, all of these indicators tell you that the party in power right now is headed for some devastating results, which is why, again, you know, those of us who wanted to see some things done for the middle class and the working class in this administration were like, the clock is ticking. If you don't do some things now, it is not happening. Because number one, you are likely to lose power in the midterms and then you're done, like the administration, this 4 years is over. And number two, you're also relying in the Senate on a bunch of like 70 and 80-year-olds during pandemic to make sure that, you know, their lives continue for your power. The actuarial tables are not in your favor. So even if you wanted to live in a fantasy land where Democrats keep control of the House and the Senate, that also would argue in favor of getting your act together and getting moving. Instead, Biden bought into, you know, what has been his ideology in DC for the 40 years that he's been there, this idea that voters are really going to reward you getting a handful of Republicans to sign on to some part of your agenda. Bottom line is, people don't really care about the process of how things get done in DC. They don't care about the filibuster. They don't care about the parliamentarian. They don't care if Lindsey Graham voted for your stupid bill. They care about what's going on in their lives and what impact they ultimately feel on their day-to-day. Is life getting better? Is life getting worse? Do I feel hopeful about the future for myself and my kids, or do I feel pessimistic about it? And by chasing the Beltway bipartisan dream, Joe Biden destroyed his agenda and he destroyed his popularity. You know, there's been this like very insular debate going on about this notion of popularism.
This is very online. So
Very
sorry,
online,
everyone.
but I'll give you the kind of top line. This is David Shore, he's a pollster and sort of data analytics guy saying, listen, this is pretty simple. What Democrats need to do is just talk about the issues that are popular. And I would say the Democrats have talked about the issues that are popular. They've talked about paid leave, 80% approval. They've talked about the child tax credit, very popular. They've talked about negotiating prescription drug prices, also very popular. So they are talking about things that are popular, yet they are not doing well because they aren't actually delivering on things that are popular and that are the top priority for Americans right now in this moment. So I sort of feel like the landscape we're facing right now is an absolute rebuttal to the idea that all you need to do is talk about things that poll well. You need to actually deliver things that not only poll well, but actually have an impact on people's lives. That matters more than almost anything else.
Yeah, a friend of the show, Matt Stoller, has disputed populism with what he calls deliverism. And I would add an addendum to that, which is also that, you know, these agenda items also might be popular, but you also have to be focused on the absolute near-term problems. And Biden is just absent on that. You know, paid family leave is great, but what about my gas? You know, paid family leave is great. Child tax credit is great, but what about the price in the food? You know, in the grocery store or restaurant, can't hire somebody. What about my heating prices? If you're not even pretending to focus on that, you could even try and pass some 5-year program and it wouldn't matter. So it's a fusion of the two. And that is his why. I don't know what their theory of politics is in the White House.
I think don't either.
If I had to guess, they believe everything is downstream of the pandemic. So Pete Buttigieg, who we'll talk about later in the show, he gave a press conference yesterday. We'll get to a hilarious part of that one in particular. But he was like, look, you know, everything is downstream of the pandemic. If we end the pandemic, then we'll solve all of this. This is not true. Like, it has nothing. The supply backlog at the ports, yes, it had to do with the pandemic. But you know, people could not be getting infected by corona tomorrow, and there would still be a backlog at the ports. It's because the global supply chain has fallen apart over the last 18 months. Fixing that has nothing to do with the pandemic. So how about you do your job? I mean, Biden too. I mean, look, I get this isn't the presidency you wanted, but this is the presidency you have. And people need to be called and rise to the occasion. I mean, in terms of what you need to come through and do, he should be issuing executive orders day after day to try and ease the problems of corona. Every American knows how annoying and awful it is to try and go do something that used to be pretty easy. Now it's more expensive, or it's not working properly, or there's some kink in the system, and it's just not going the right way. And that's why people have such a high level of dissatisfaction. That's what he should be laser focused on as president. You do that and you pass paid family leave, you'll be popular today and you'll be popular 3 months from now or a year from now or something. These are the issues. Their theory of politics in the White House, maybe there isn't one. I really just don't know what else to say. Like, I'm mystified at how terrible they are.
Biden
Awful.
is not exactly a visionary.
No, yeah.
I mean, he's not. I don't mean that as an insult. I think it's just a statement of fact if you look over the course of his career. He sort of governs by like a basket of slogans and cliches and like, you know, stories from his childhood, and has a few core instincts, one of which is this obsession with bipartisanship that I think have hobbled him in this moment when, you know, I think whatever you think the vision should ultimately be, the country is clearly searching to make a turn.
Yeah.
They're clearly searching for a more visionary leader who is going to rescue the country from what feels like permanent decline. I mean, that's the sense that people get is this country is on the way down, is on the way out. And so they're looking for someone who has a clear vision of how we change that, how we make sure that this is a nation again that is at its core, not that we've ever really fully delivered on this promise for the entire population, but that at its core is about making sure that its citizens can pursue happiness and live good and fulfilled lives, both for themselves and their children. And, you know, I think, again, going back to the hand that Biden was dealt here, a different president who had that sense of an alternative future and a real vision for how to get us there actually had all the tools at their disposal to maneuver things. I mean, you know, you've got a crisis situation, especially at the beginning. This is the point that Brianna has been making, that, you know, in the must pass, like we got to get the checks out the door and we got to do some instant relief right at the beginning of the administration. You don't wait for the big agenda items till now. You put some of them in here so that you're not just doing an instant injection of cash, you're building something for the long term that has a bigger picture vision. So you're delivering in that way. You could have done a lot more with executive powers that he's extraordinarily reluctant ultimately to use. And then part of it is using the bully pulpit in an effective way and giving people confidence that anything that you can do and is in your power, you are going to do to help them get through what continues to be a very challenging and unsettling time when, you know, yeah, we're out of the worst of the pandemic, but the inequalities of the country have only gotten worse. The rich have only gotten richer. Prices are going up. You've got a plurality of people who think we're headed into a recession in the next year. These are really bad indicators, and you at the very least have to give people the sense that you are on it and you are doing everything you possibly can. And I think on that metric alone, he has utterly failed and is incapable of doing anything other than fail.
That's right. That is his greatest failure.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching.
That's right. Just as a
And it is. Also, let's see here. So that's the Biden one. And then they also did today Kamala. So let's do that one as well.
One of our favorite segments that we do here on Breaking Points. How unpopular is Kamala Harris? And the results are even more stunning than even we could have imagined. Put this up there on the screen. New poll from Suffolk University and USA Today. The only person less popular in this country than Joe Biden is Kamala Harris. Biden's job approval rating at 38%, 59, which is a disaster. That's like Trump-level territory in terms of where he is sitting. And Kamala Harris somehow manages to get even lower than that at a 28% approval rating. So granted, she doesn't have as high of a disapproval rating, so I guess most of the people in the category just didn't know who she was. But in terms of the people who affirmatively like her, yeah, 28% of the American public. And maybe it has to do with really weird stuff that she does, like this, where she was recently asking about the races of trees. And this is not a joke. This is not like some cherry pick clip. This is real from a briefing of her with NASA. Let's take a listen.
Climate adaptation strategies.
Can you measure trees? Part of that data that you're referring to in EJ's environmental justice, but you can also track by race. There are averages in terms of the number of trees in the neighborhood where people live.
So we're talking about trees, environmental. No, look. I know there is some convoluted explanation about environmental justice and all of that, but I think that pretty much just encapsulates really what Harris is all about. Crystal, you also pointed out that she's got a new political initiative to bolster her popularity with the billionaire class. And so she really is just the worst politician that I've probably ever seen in my life. Hillary Clinton Hillary might have even given her a run for her money.
Well, she's just empty.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really the bottom line. She's just empty. She's just an ambitious person who, throughout her presidential campaign, this became incredibly clear. She kept changing her slogan.
Yes.
Every couple of months, they're having like a conference call to try to figure out what her core values are. You're not going to come to your core values and your priorities by, having a group of Democratic consultants tell you what you should be ultimately about. And so I think that really comes across, is that there is no sort of core there. There's no willingness or track record of fighting things that are actually important for the American people. The latest sign of just sort of bending the political winds that you were alluding to, she's set to give a speech. We can throw this tear sheet up on the screen, where she's going to say that singling out Israel is anti-Semitism in an ADL speech. So again, sort of bending to the political winds there. And, what I always come back to with Kamala is that this was all so obvious. Like, all of the people in this town seem so shocked that she's unpopular, that she's not doing particularly well in the position of vice president. First of all, they gave her some of the hardest assignments, like, go fix the border. Good luck with that, But it was always incredibly clear that the public that she was an entirely media creation. Public had no interest in electing Kamala Harris to a national office. She had to drop out before her state even voted or any state even voted, because it was looking so embarrassing. Even on just the sort of financial management of the campaign, which I actually always think is an interesting indicator of how effective people are going to be in terms of that like managerial type of expertise. She was a disaster there. Funds were misspent. Her campaign team was like at war with one another. Right. There were different silos and factions and all kinds of infighting. And there just wasn't any enthusiasm for her candidacy, because ultimately, what is there to be enthusiastic about? What does she actually stand for and willing to fight for? We still don't know.
Well, I think that everything we're seeing in terms of the Buttigieg camp already leaking about how terrible she is, the White House itself trying to keep her on as strict a lockdown as possible, there is a deep acknowledgement. At the very least, they're like, hey, we messed up big time here. In terms of what to do, though, they don't know, because she's also the appointed successor, and you can't abandon your vice president if you decide not to run, which is possible. And, I would say, like a 40-50% shot at this point in 2024. I think, ultimately, if Biden can still walk, he'll probably still run, just because, there's nobody else that they have that can win. But it really is. I mean, when you see these numbers, it is just stunning to see what the next generation they have picked or have waiting for them whenever it's their time to stand on their own.
Yeah, their solution to this Kamala mess is Pete.
Yeah.
Who is like only, in terms of public support,
probably
is only,
less popular. No,
I'd say he's marginally better just because he actually did place in the Democratic primary.
That's true.
Whereas Kamala didn't even make it to the starting line. So I guess maybe. But it's a pretty grim scenario when you're like, your hero who's going to come riding in and hopefully secure a win for you is Pete Buttigieg.
All right.
Who was so irrelevant that no one even noticed that he was not working during the supply chain crisis as Secretary of Transportation. Yeah. So pretty grim. It was funny. There was a Democratic primary. I mean, these things are always sort of ridiculous this far out. But Democratic primary poll that came out recently that had, okay, if Biden's not running, who do you want? Kamala's support in that poll had dropped like 20 points in just a couple months, but she was still leading. She was sitting vice president. Second, I believe, was Bernie Sanders, who's like 300 years old.
Yeah.
And has no interest in running.
He's literally like 90.
Yeah.
Like not actually, but he's near.
Yeah. I mean, I have a lot of great affection for Bernie Sanders. And if he runs again, I'll be there for him, because it's way better.
It's over, Bernie.
Way better than Kamala or Pete. So that's kind of where they are.
All right.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching.
So there you go. That's where we're at with all that. Okay. Good. We got Breaking Bad's out of the way early. Breaking Bad's breaking points. Let's do some weird change of gear thing here. This is super weird.
The Oregon coast is an amazing and beautiful place to visit. But underneath all of its beauty is something so devastatingly disgusting that it will make your skin crawl. In nearly all of the estuaries where freshwater and saltwater meet, shrimp are affected by a blood-sucking parasite known as Orthione griffinus. Today, we're on the hunt for some shrimp that are infected, and this isn't the first time an invasive animal has infested this area. As some of you know, there are worms in the blackberries you eat, but that's for another video.
This mud is so soft. You just sink in it, and it's really thick. So once you sink, it's kind of hard to get out.
Finding these shrimp can be pretty difficult. Once you find them, picking them up can also be pretty difficult. Dude, come on, I'm trying to help you. To those unaware that this parasite even exists, it might just look like an ordinary shrimp, but it's under the gill flap of the shrimp that the parasite likes to hide, draining the shrimp of its blood, nutrients, and inhibiting reproduction. Notice the small male attached to the top of the large female. And here's the area of the female parasite that's used to feed off the shrimp. I hope you're feeling better now, Willie. Let's see if we can save the day for a few more shrimp. Oh, fantastic. Here's a couple more. Let's examine both of these shrimp to see which one might have a parasite and which one doesn't. Notice how this shrimp has thin sides with no protruding bulge. And take a look at this one. You can easily tell that there's something bulging underneath its gill flap. This is evidence of a parasite. And while shrimp lack the cognitive ability to comprehend pain, it still might feel some discomfort being handled. However, it's way more beneficial for the shrimp to have the parasite removed because it gives the shrimp a second chance at a healthy life. I hope you little shrimp have a very awesome weekend. Researchers believe that these invasive parasites were brought into the United States back in the early 70s or 80s. While the parasites are thriving, hosting off of the shrimp species, the shrimp are suffering a dramatic decline in their populations. Go out there and save your species, Jennifer. Parasites can attach themselves to one or even both sides of a shrimp. Luckily for these shrimp, they've only got parasites on one side. And another important fact about these shrimp is that it's mostly the females that are affected by parasites. In fact, almost 90% of all female Euphogebius shrimp are affected. While the shrimp are burrowed down inside of the mud, these parasites swim into their gill flaps and hang on using their little white arms. When a parasite's removed, there's a couple different things we can do with it. We can either donate them to scientific research labs to help them solve this invasive species issue, or turn them into plant compost. Either way, we're taking an invasive species out of the water and putting it to good use. Notice on this shrimp how you can see the parasite through the gill flap. I'm sorry to hear about your troubles, Felicia, but I'm here to help. Let's get this parasite removed. Even parasites have an important role in nature, but it's when an organism is brought into an area where it doesn't naturally belong that it begins to have a very negative effect on the ecosystem. Now I realize that removing a few parasites out of countless millions isn't going to solve this problem. But what I do hope to achieve with these videos is to raise awareness and build a community of people who genuinely care about the ocean and want to help. So if that's you, then smash that subscribe button and stay tuned for more videos.
So there you go. Some parasite videos, right?
Blood-sucking, invasive parasites are infecting Maria's gills. But don't worry, Maria. We're gonna get these parasites taken out. That way you can live a happy life and maybe one day have children. Alright, we're gonna very carefully remove this invasive parasite from your gills. Look at it, Maria. This is the thing that's been causing you all that side pain. Here, I'll let you hold it. Now we're gonna feed the parasite to our hungry friend Franklin the sea chicken. We'll set Maria free, and be sure to follow if you love ocean animals.
The sea chicken. We can do some Jake Hudson. Is that what you want? You want some Jake Hudson, Mr. Approachable?
They were both standing there when I pulled the car. When they came running over to the car when I came up, and then Kathy running down the side out of the mail, and she's like, ah! She went around the front, and then I had to go and I had to get between.
You're playing like
I had to go from the car between the two geese to the front to the door, and I started running around, and just as the male one comes running over, he's like.
He's hissing at you?
Yeah, he's hissing and running at me, and then I started running, and he's moving her up, and he's chasing after me, and I'm like,
You ran?
Yeah. I had to, it was gonna get me.
That makes it be hilarious to see.
That instinct, you get that instinct in your mind when something starts chasing you,
Oh, yeah.
and you're like,
And he's just gonna start recording everybody walking in just to get
I was
them on
waiting for
camera.
him to come in, the male one was standing outside on the road like this, and then
I
just
didn't see
before
that.
he.
So that's 3 different directions.
Oh, God.
What's on your radar?
Where has Houdini impersonator Gavin Newsom been? Well, it's hard to believe, but only 2 months after surviving a recall election, Gavin Newsom's mysterious behavior and subsequent comments have once again sparked controversy over the California governor's mandates and pandemic response. And it starts with his unexplained disappearance for 10 days. The camera-loving governor abruptly canceled an important UN climate change conference trip to Scotland and went dark from public view with no real explanation for nearly 2 weeks. California is committed to being the leader in combating climate change, so canceling a trip like this is a big deal. Now, Newsom's last public appearance was October 27th when he was seen receiving his Moderna COVID-19 booster shot. He had previously received the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, but wanted to mix and match to show the public it was safe. Then he disappeared. 3 days later, the Associated Press reported Newsom had abruptly canceled his scheduled trip to Glasgow due to quote-unquote family obligations, but would attend the conference virtually via Zoom. Newsom reportedly asked the lieutenant governor to attend in his place. When interviewed by the Associated Press, the lieutenant governor said she had a sense she would be asked to go after speaking to the governor that Thursday. Well, it turns out he didn't attend the climate event via Zoom. He completely disappeared. He even missed making the announcement that vaccines for kids 5 to 11 were authorized by the FDA and CDC, an announcement completely out of character for him to miss. When concerned citizens began asking about Gavin Newsom's whereabouts, his staff continued to assert that he was attending to family obligations and had been working from the Capitol. Even the New York Times and Politico began asking questions. Where was Gavin Newsom? This was unlike him to disappear from public view. People on Twitter began putting 2 and 2 together and speculated that because the governor had not been spotted since he received his vaccine booster, he must be experiencing some sort of side effect. It's well known that many people who receive the vaccine often experience illness. It's why paid time off is even part of Biden's vaccine mandate plan. But that illness usually lasts a day or 2, maybe 3. Newsom had been gone for 10. People began to speculate, and there were even some uncorroborated reports from people who claimed to be close to the governor that Gavin Newsom was experiencing one of the more known severe side effects, namely Guillain-Barré syndrome. Now, GBS is rare, but documented as a possible COVID vaccine-induced side effect. It can cause pain in the nerves, numbness, and paralysis. Some people who experience this syndrome can present like they're drunk, stumbling when they walk and slurring when they speak. And depending on how severe the symptoms are, they could subside within days or even years or months or years. But if, and it's a big if, big speculative if that is, that Gavin Newsom was in fact suffering from side effects to this nature, you can understand why appearing in public might be problematic. But appear he did. Finally, on Monday, photographs surfaced of the governor attending a big, fancy, expensive wedding on November 6th that was featured in Vogue magazine. That's right, 10 days after disappearing with no real explanation, Gavin Newsom was hobnobbing with the extremely wealthy Getty family at a wedding Nancy Pelosi officiated. Now, there are only photographs of Gavin Newsom at the ceremony itself, not the celebrations surrounding the wedding, and he was, to his credit, wearing a mask. But the showcasing of people of extreme wealth and power, such as the Gettys and Nancy Pelosi, not wearing masks while they party when school children are required to mask while they learn, set off a barrage of criticism of double standards. Ironically, the fancy wedding landed on the 1-year anniversary of Gavin Newsom dining at the French Laundry. He mandates we little people suffer while he and his friends once again get a fancy pass. Then finally, yesterday, Gavin Newsom made a public work appearance. He sat down for an interview at the 2021 California Economic Summit. He looked and sounded fine, but with all the rumors circulating, the interviewer wanted to address the elephant in the room. What was Gavin Newsom for Halloween? We knew what the real question really was, and Gavin Newsom explained that his disappearance was because his kids begged him to spend Halloween with his family.
And I signed up to go to Europe, and I was ready to go, and I had that dinner. A lot of you know this dinner with the family. And the kids, literally, they kind of had an intervention. They said they couldn't believe that I was going to miss Halloween. And we got a 5-year-old, the oldest is 12, 4 young kids. And I'm defending myself. You know, I got to go, honey, this and that. And my wife was going to go as well. And, you know, mom and dad missing Halloween. For them, it's, you know, like worse than Christmas, missing Christmas. And I woke up that next morning with something that's probably familiar to a lot of parents, that knot in your stomach, that I had no damn choice. I had to cancel that trip. And I appreciate it.
So never mind the fact that Halloween is one day, and the climate conference began on October 31st and is ongoing until the 12th of November. He maybe could have shown up a day late. And also the soccer tournament, Boo Fest, that he mentioned as one of his excuses was only Halloween weekend. But notice he didn't deny any of the speculations regarding his health or side effects, and he didn't give reasons as to why he couldn't make a Zoom appearance at the UN climate conference. He also didn't mention his attendance at the fancy wedding. There were a couple of things he did mention, however, that upset people even further. California has been the most locked down state with the toughest COVID restrictions, and the reasons Gavin Newsom has given for destroying people's businesses, keeping kids out of school, and mandating vaccines has been to control the spread of the virus. But during this interview, Gavin Newsom admitted the virus is seasonal.
This is hard for me to say because it makes you even more unpopular than I am in many camps. Last year at this time, we all were bemused and confused when we saw a few states starting to see an increase in COVID. It's as if we learned nothing in the last year. The coverage of Colorado, it's somewhat inexplicable, they say. We really don't know why they're seeing an increase in Vermont and New Hampshire, why the Northeast is experiencing an increase. California is now experiencing an increase. Well, we know why. There's a seasonality to COVID. It's not particularly difficult after a couple of years to understand. You see those trends in Europe. You see those trends extend in other parts of the globe. Unfortunately, that's what's happening here in your state.
Now, Florida, which has some of the most lax COVID policies, now has one of the lowest case rates in the country, while California is twice that of Florida's and climbing. Yet our mandates and restrictions continue. Later in the discussion, Newsom also said something really upsetting. Now remember, California locked down first and locked down the longest, and this caused many businesses to go under, especially in the hospitality industry. Property owners begged the state for relief and begged the governor to allow them to open up for business. Those pleas fell on deaf ears. But listen here to what Gavin Newsom said yesterday.
We put $6 billion, $5.8 billion for HomeKey. Some of you may know a little bit about HomeKey. We started buying hotels and motels last year. Seemed an opportunistic time to do it in the midst of the pandemic. A lot were vacant. A lot of people were desperate. A lot of small business owners that were very happy that someone was going to come in and purchase those assets. We were able to purchase 6,000 units in 5.5 months.
Yeah, it was a great opportunity to buy those properties up for cheap because people were desperate. That's right, his policies made them desperate. Gavin Newsom is up for re-election in 2022, and he might have survived the recall, but people like me are still pissed about his pandemic response. Californians are pissed at him for disappearing after receiving a booster dose while still mandating that school children get the vaccine. They're pissed he mandates that children wear masks while his rich friends hobnob maskless at $1 million wedding inside of San Francisco City Hall. People are pissed he's continuing to promote strict COVID policies while admitting the reason Florida is doing fine and California's rates are climbing has nothing to do with policy. policy, but the weather. And people are pissed he's boasting about getting rock bottom pricing on property that his pandemic policies wiped out. All California voters have to do is look to Virginia. Pick a Republican candidate like Youngkin, and Gavin is out of a job. But hey, look at the bright side. He won't need to cancel appearances at important climate conferences to spend time hobnobbing with wealthy old oil families. He won't need to apologize for dining at expensive restaurants with lobbyists, nor for disappearing for days on end. Instead, he'll have all the time in the world. So, you know what? We're mad. I'm in California right now. We're mad. We're mad at Gavin Newsom, and I think he should be very afraid come next year when he is up for legitimate re-election. And Californians especially are mad about what's going on with children, with masking of kids, with kids now being, with California proudly announcing that kids are going to be mandated to get the vaccine in order to go to school. People are mad. I don't know if Gavin Newsom's going to survive.
I don't understand how practically you can mandate masks for vaccines for school children when, like, even, I mean, the percentage of parents who are absolutely comfortable, who want to be first in line to vaccinate their children, it's only like, maybe in California it's higher, but it's still like not going to be higher than 50%, I don't think. So it's going to be, it seems not feasible to me to have that requirement. Anyway, I share your frustration. I'm a non-Californian, but I share your frustration, Kim. I'm mad at you from the other side of the country. I'm mad.
And there's also something twisted about using your kids to get out of professional obligations. It's not
right.
You shouldn't do it. And you make a very good point. Okay, did the kids say, you know, we're upset that you're not going to be for Halloween? Probably. I doubt he made that up. But like you said, he could have left the day after Halloween. The conference was still going, and so
it's still going. It's still going for another couple of days.
Right, he could go right now.
Yeah.
If he wanted to, and in fact, clearly he's healthy enough that he could go at this point. I don't know what the issue was for that 10 days, but to say that it was your children is just it's just too cynical.
Maybe he was hiking in the Appalachians.
But does the Republican Party of California...
People can Google that one who don't remember that one. Yeah.
Does the Republican Party of California have enough discipline to put forth a Youngkin-style candidate rather than a Larry Elder-type candidate?
You know, maybe, right? California would just need to put up kind of an Arnold Schwarzenegger type, right? I mean, hate to point back at him, but that's what worked before. You know, somebody who can appeal to both sides for sure. Larry Elder obviously was just not a serious candidate to many Californians, and that was, I think, the biggest issue. But you know, and I think it's not wise of Gavin Newsom to not think how mad Californians actually are, to not really absorb that about the pandemic response, and then to go on there and to be like, oh yeah, we were able to buy up all of these distressed properties for cheap. I mean, that was outrageous to say that. These people suffered. They lost their businesses.
I mean, Glenn Youngkin himself, you know, he'll be a one-term governor in Virginia. These are global elites that don't really have a home. It's not like he has some deep roots and he's connected to the culture of McLean, Virginia. He's worth $500 million. He could go fly out to California. He probably owns property out there already, and just he could instead of a Youngkin-like candidate, then maybe they'll just nominate Youngkin himself.
And then he can still run for president in 2024.
Yeah, he can, and yes, he could remotely govern Virginia from Los Angeles or Sacramento or wherever they do that. Yeah, I just solved all the Republican Party's problems.
The Republican, not a Youngkin-like candidate, but Youngkin himself for all offices. Youngkin all the time. Anyway, we'll have more Rising right after this.
All right, so yeah, that's concerning, right? Let's do a recap of the Justin Gaethje Chandler fight.
Gaethje versus Chandler. I think that fight's going to be an absolute war, and I think it's going to be fight of the year.
This is a dude I've wanted to fight since years before I came into the UFC. As he said when he came into the UFC, show me my equal.
He fights the same as I do. We both fireworks from the beginning. You know, I know he's going to try to finish it first round, but he's going to turn into a wrestler real quick, talking about taking steps backwards. We'll see who's the when he starts shooting for legs.
Justin Gaethje goes out and won.
Let's go.
Surprise, surprise! See you at the top!
God! Oh my God!
But like the burger! God bless! See you at the top!
Congratulations. Wow. That was a war.
I've been working to put myself in a title eliminator fight. If not, we riot.
Anything's possible, but we'll see what happens.
I'm there to break people.
This guy's been doing recaps. They're kind of fun. I like to break up the news when we can. Here's a cat scoring a goal. Everybody likes soccer cats, right?
The black cat is on the field. The first touch is exceptional. The movement is outstanding. The black cat lies through. Brilliant! Brilliant goal! The black cat is on the field. The first touch is exceptional. The movement is outstanding. The black cat lies through. Brilliant! Brilliant goal!
Those Owl Kitty ones are classic. All right. This is weird. There's something called World Chase Tag. It's like a grown-up league where they play tag on an obstacle course, and I can't stop. It's the weirdest thing ever. Look at this
World Chase Tag. This is a massive one. GNF, the title favorite, now have to take on the very impressive Hollywood Freerunners.
This is so
Phase
weird.
1, Hollywood Freerunners evading.
Athletes, ready!
We've seen Soderman use that base of the mountain as a starting point before, and he uses the outside ring of the court to chase all the way around, and Ruji is not panicking just yet, uses some height, but he hits a pole there over the sisters, and he's got his pace up again, but he's not cutting down the space, and Soderman's away, and oh, even the stumble doesn't stop him! He's got another point to lead off
What the
Hollywood
fuck?
Freerunners, and even the great Seth Ruji couldn't hunt him down.
Both of them look like they bailed there, both Seth and Kyle, but Kyle got away with the evasion, so all's well that ends well.
Kyle Soderman, even when he's eating platforms, he's picking up points and evasions.
Chase 2, Hollywood Freerunners
Chase
evading. 1-0, Hollywood Freerunners.
Athletes, ready!
David Vasconcelos, another one of the stars of this GNF team. This time starting by the tilted cube and then going cross court, and he's dived underneath that, and the tag is claimed, and it's given.
Chase 3, GNF evading. 1-0, Hollywood Freerunners.
Athletes, ready!
Here comes Dale Smith looking to track down Davis Vasconcelos, and he skirts around the tilted cube, decides to go centre court to cut off some angles. Front line for Vasconcelos, round towards the ridge, and here he just idles a little bit, points one way and goes that way over the mountain, and what a jump! It's built up some space, he turns back on himself, and Vasconcelos, it looked like he was being tracked down, and then that use of the mountain really gave him the advantage in the latter seconds.
Super calm, super collected here. This is a stoic mindset of being able to get your tactics and execute them to the best of your ability without anxiety or anything getting in your way.
Chase 4, GNF evading. 1-all.
Athletes, ready!
Omar Zaki, team captain for the Hollywood Freerunners, goes over to the tilted cube, tracking down Vasconcelos, who just shuffles under the mountain, but builds up a bit of speed over the front line. A nice little jump up to the mountain again. Oh, that hurts. That is a big fall from Omar Zaki, and he's up. And there is no way that he's going to catch him from there.
Mate, that's a savage bail. Oh, Omar also
No, he fucked up his ankle.
A stuntman by trade. He knows how to fall, bless him, but this must be a couple of weeks in recovery, or at least not for this
Oh, it's
competition. He
like
might
clipped
be
his
out
ankle, dude. Look at that.
GNF on 2-1.
Chase 5, GNF evading. 2-1, GNF.
Athletes, ready!
Up comes Antonio Allen. Vasconcelos quite happy to just stand there. Give him a newspaper, he don't want to do anything, but unfortunately he didn't make a move and didn't commit to it. And Antonio stops him right there.
Chase 6, Hollywood Freerunners evading. 2-1, GNF.
Athletes, ready!
Jake Migliorata for GNF scrambles underneath the front line and reaches through the loading bay, and that is very simply done.
Chase 7, GNF evading. 2-1, GNF.
Athletes, ready!
GNF leading by a point. Justin Sweeney has the job of making sure it stays at only 1 point. Migliorata scoots under the mountain and hangs around by the loading bay, quite happy to waste time there under the ridge and to the front line, back under the ridge to the loading bay in the mountain. He's doing a lot of work down low, Migliorata scrambling about, and he just cannot be tracked down because Justin Sweeney cannot stop him. Migliorata puts GNF in a commanding position and then disappears off the court.
Chase 8, GNF evading. 3-1, GNF.
Athletes, ready!
Miguel Diaz, can he stop Migliorata, or will this man scramble and crawl his way to another point? Well, he won't this time, because it looked like he just stopped, had a look over his shoulder to find out where the chaser was, and unfortunately for Migliorata, he was there tagging him.
Chase 9, Hollywood Freerunners evading. 3-1, GNF.
Athletes, ready!
Julius Porter looking to chase down Miguel. And away he goes, over to the front line, Julius Porter. He's built up some speed, but it's stopped by the sisters. He lost his footing, and it's just established a bit of a gap. And he swung again and missed, and under the mountain now, and he still can't get him. Every single time he gets close, he's frustrated by one of the obstacles. That's the whole point of this game. The EQ, evasion quality, bits of the core, give you places you can hide, places you can get away from your chaser.
Chase 10, Hollywood Freerunners evading. 3-2, GNF.
Athletes, ready!
Miguel Diaz being chased down by the bear. And the bear looking pretty sketchy as he throws his arms one way or another, but none of those paws connect. That one does though, over the sisters, and the bear gets his man.
Chase 11, GNF evading. 3-2, GNF.
Athletes, ready!
The bear starts at the sisters. Don't often see this, and perhaps that's the reason why.
All right, we are at, yeah, it's weird. It's like a whole tag league, right? Yeah, these announcers do suck. We're at a hype train now. Lab Glass Project gave 100. 7 more 100-bit donos gets us started on a hype train. Let's get hypey in this
Y'all
bitch.
better get hypey in this bitch, because I need some fucking moon pies.
Yeah. Let's go. 2, there's Bob Loblaw. I'm a big fan of Bob Loblaw's law blog. There's 3. We need 5 more. I think John already gave one, didn't he? No, he did not. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 more gets us started on our second hype train of the first of this broadcast. Now that we got rid of that fucking dipshit Jantis. I suppose I shouldn't even say his fucking name. Dude might reappear. There's 5. 5. I don't know why this World Tag Championship is so interesting, but it's like kind of fun to watch. It actually is interesting too because it kind of gives a good reason to do parkour, right? Like I'm not a big parkour fan, but that's I mean that's pretty cool, right? I mean, I guess I prefer Johnny because, like, he doesn't hack and take over the controls, I guess. I wonder if he has any advice for stuff. There we go. 2 away from getting this hype train started. Two more. Gets us started on a hype train. Let's go, guys. Oh, yeah, we need a sub count, huh? We are at 938 subs, trying to battle our way back up to 1,000. So that'll be pretty cool if we can get to there. There we go. Magnum Dewey giving one. And Shane 1 giving one. There we go. Hype train started. Let's go. Lab Glass Projects. Getting it done with 50. Let's go. I wonder how it's going to say it with all that G's. Let's hear it. Ooh.
Let's go.
Let's go. Goo. Bitcoin hit 69. I know. I told you guys by the end of the year, I thought Bitcoin would be at 100,000. I told you that in February. Stand by it, bitches. Let's do more of this.
He was going absolutely nowhere there.
Let's go. 4 minutes left. Level 1 hype train. Let's go, baby.
Hollywood Freerunners evading 3-2 GNF.
Athletes, ready!
Hollywood need to evade, but they do have Carl Soderman, who's been one of the standout players so far. Seth Ruji, one of the stars of this sport, going for him, and he claims the tag. Soderman doesn't know. He doesn't feel it. It looks like we could go to a DTR, disputed tag review. Ruji's convinced.
Disputed tag review.
And so it's going to go to...
All right, here you go. If you want the disputed tag review, we got to get to level 2. There's Lab Glass getting us, boom. There we go. And all right, boom. News from the chopper. Aaron's a crybaby. Okay. Yeah, disputed tag review. Yeah, where's the ref? They're going to replay, dude. It was a disputed tag review. I don't know if you know this or not, but World Chase Tag is it's a gentleman's game, right? Let's review this.
To a DTR, disputed tag review. Ruji.
DTR, baby. DTR. Finally, you know, I love seeing DTRs at this line of the guy. I don't fucking know.
Convinced. Soderman not so sure. And so it's going to go to the officials, I believe. I don't think there was contact.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it, Dan, but then it's hard to tell.
Oh. Is there a heel? It's fingers on heel, or it's nothing at all.
From the news chopper, Aaron's a crybaby.
That shot seems to suggest he got him. Seth Ruji immediately claiming it, but it looks like a decision has been reached. And what is that decision?
Here we go. Ah, there's the tag. Seth saying he's got the tag.
Tag made, and that means that Seth Ruji is on the court, looking to wrap this up.
Let's go. 3 minutes, 41 seconds.
GNF evading 3-2 GNF.
Athletes, ready!
Over the front line, Ruji just hanging around by the tilted cube. Now he just ducks underneath the mountain back towards the loading bay, over the top of the mountain this time, and well, Dale has slammed into it. But he's managed to get close, and again he throws himself at Ruji, who ducks underneath it. And that is a point for GNF, and it means that the favourites are still alive in this tournament. And it was that man, Seth Ruji, by what? A matter of millimetres. First with the tag to get on the court, and there evading the tag.
Chase 14, GNF evading. Match point, GNF.
Athletes, ready!
Well, Seth Ruji, if he can double up, look at this, doing all that work up high, and then he swings around the loading bay and gets tapped on the hip. It was very, very impressive. Very
2 minutes and 32 seconds.
Fuji, and then it just fell apart at the end.
Chase 15, Hollywood Freerunners evading. Match point, GNF.
Athletes, ready!
Jake Migliorata looking to win it. And he's just shuffling around the bars and the platforms near the mountain, but he can't quite get down to the level where Antonio's doing his work. And again, he takes the high road. Migliorata launching himself onto those bars. Not easy, but it's not easy to stay away from this man, but he's done it! He has done it!
There's not a female league, but there are females that compete in this. It's a mixed gender sport.
And Hollywood Freerunners are still alive by the skin of their teeth. The tag was made, but not before the 20 seconds was up.
We've got a chance now for 30 seconds to get back in for another evasion. This would give them the draw.
Chase 16, Hollywood Freerunners evading. Match point, GNF.
Athletes, ready!
My wife and I have a theory that Aaron is going to keep crying about bits and subs until it was just a mistake while doing the show. I used to give more bits to Steel Toe, but now save them for this show because Aaron is coming off as unappreciated.
Chase, Davis Vasconcelos managing to get the job done. Is the GNF or not knocked out of this
I appreciate Ice's profanity.
Wide open. Hollywood
1 minute left.
GNF both hoping
Do you guys want more World Tag Championship or World Chase Tag? I don't know if you guys want to. I just discovered this like about a week ago, and I've been following it quite a bit. So yeah, it's pretty fun, right? It's an interesting little fucking weird sport. Here's the finals from so it's all a tournament based, right? That was the first round of the tournaments. That pink team, the Hollywood Freerunners, actually made it to the finals. So this was actually the championship league of that. Well, okay, how about this? Do you guys want to do this? What are we thinking? Do you want to watch the championship or do you want to watch a few of them? 20 seconds left. Let's go. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. Never mind. Good job, though. You guys are rad. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Look at that. We got a weird ass, this guy, Hype Gems. Boom. There you go. Boom. Oh, thank you, Tanker Yanker. I appreciate it. You're the man. Oh, shit. You want the championships? Okay, we'll do the championships, and if you want to watch the prelims, you can. But yeah, here we go.
16 teams came here. Almost 100 of the finest parkour athletes that the United States has to offer.
I will say this. This, to me, actually justifies parkour. Like if you're training parkour because you want to get into this, I'm into that. Like good for you, you know? And I've always made fun of parkour people, but this is really cool. Here we go.
And this is what it's all about. The final of the first ever World Chase Tag USA.
They're flexing.
Hollywood Freerunner versus Apex. Chase 1, Apex evading.
Athletes, ready!
Well, Michael Schleiger's in for Apex, and it is Carl Soderman, a man who turned down a stuntman job to be here, and what a decision, because he may well be the nicest flight. He's had more evasions than anyone, and the pace here is incredible. Mind-blowing stuff, this chase, but Schleiger's got him tailing him all around the court, and that, oh, it nearly worked. It nearly worked. It was just a foot race all the way through the 20 seconds, and Soderman manages to win it.
Wow, this is a full tailgating situation. Kyle on his back the whole way round. I thought Mike could have it, complete fresh energy left, but it was not.
We should probably get some gear.
Chase 2, Hollywood Freerunner evading 0 all.
Athletes, ready!
I don't know this for sure, but I think it's like you go through teams, right? And I think the person that is in stays in until they either get caught or they don't, but it's fucking crazy. And they have to last 20 seconds.
Wang. Straight after Kyle. Oh, and he just shimmies out the way again, and off he goes, Carl Soderman. Up the mountain, he started using this a lot more compared to the group stages, and Seth Wang clatters into the sisters and round by the ridge, and he makes a dive and he doesn't get it, and Carl Soderman's at it again. He's at it again. More points, more evasions. This man is unreal.
This is ridiculous. He's already saying I'm going for 2. And we don't know where this guy's going to go next. What's his record, Dan? 6?
6 in a row.
6, and that is a world record. We've never seen anything like that in World Chase Tag.
Chase 3, Hollywood Freerunners evading. 1-0, Hollywood Freerunners. Athletes ready!
It does not get any easier for him. He's just seen off Seth Wang, but can he see off Jason Burgesson, who is an incredible chaser? And he goes around the loading bay and under the ridge, and we look again at this man try and put the jets on and build up some speed. Oh, and another slip. Apex, they're just misplacing their feet at some crucial moments, and he dives and makes the tag just about, but it was very nearly Carl Soderman putting Hollywood another point clear.
For sure, Dan. Jason able to get that diving tag at the front line, but I believe Kyle misinterpreted the slip that Jason had at the tilted cube and thought that he was juking him. He wasn't, he fell over, and then because of that, Kyle lost a little bit of ground and managed to get the distance caught up on him.
Chase 4, Apex evading. 1-0, Hollywood Freerunners. Athletes ready!
Here comes Dale Smith. Jason Burgesson starting at the tilted cube and now goes under the mountain and waits around the loading bay. Dale Smith comes around the other side and he's going to do the same trick, isn't he? Get to the tilted cube and then go back under the mountain. And across court he comes to the tilted cube, jumps into it, Dale Smith, but he can't get there, and he dives and skids, and has he managed to make the tag? Dale Smith thinks he has. It's right at the death of the 20, and Jason points to his foot. He acknowledges the tag was made, but my word, it was close.
Yeah, fair play. That's a full run around the quad. Just be able to go back and forth under the mountain. But Dale's got his number. He's managing to catch up on him just there by the loading bay. Grab him by the foot.
Chase 5, Hollywood Freerunners evading. 1-0, Hollywood Freerunners. Athletes ready!
Yeah, that dive was sick.
Rob Shield on the plate. He's played some significant roles as Apex have fought their way through to the final. Dale Smith scampering under the mountain and the ridge, and round the front line we go as Shield looks to cut down the gap, and he goes under the sisters and
dude,
makes
that's
the tag.
insane.
And Smith
Look at that
smacks
shit.
the floor
That's
in frustration.
crazy.
The ridge, and round the front line we go as Shield
This
looks
is like literally the, like now, from now on, if somebody says they do parkour, I'm going to ask them if they do World Chase tag. And if they don't, I'm going to be like, well, then you're a pussy, right? Like, I've always made fun of parkour people, but if this is what you're doing parkour for, I totally think it's awesome.
to cut down the gap, and he goes under the sisters and makes the tag, and Smith smacks the floor in frustration.
Chase 6, Apex evading. 1-0, Hollywood Freerunners. Athletes ready!
Antonio Allen just points at Rob Shield. He's got his eyes on him, but can he get his hands on him as Shield goes to the loading bay? Now under the ridge, and more slips. We're seeing a few slips from both teams in this one, but no slip there from Rob Shield, who uses the sisters elegantly to build up some space. Another dive from Antonio Allen, but it doesn't work, and Shield can just coast around the outside. And that means that Rob Shield gets another point for Apex.
Chase 7, Apex evading. 1-all. Athletes ready!
1-1 in this final for the World Chase Tag USA title, and Hollywood Freerunner captain Omar Zaki comes in, trying to track down Rob Shield, and he does that well. Oh, no, he doesn't. I thought the tag was made, but he escapes under the ridge, and now he's by the tilted cube, and he goes back under the mountain. And when I thought that this was over a few seconds ago, Rob Shield doubles up, and Apex go into the lead for the first time in this final. 2-1 to Apex. Omar Zaki looked like he had him, and just didn't get a hand on him.
Mate, this is a roller coaster. We have no idea what could go down here in the next couple of chases. We've got Hollywood Freerunners doing real well. We've got Apex smashing it.
Chase 8, Apex evading. 2-1, Apex. Athletes ready!
Justin Sweeney on the plate looking to deny Rob Shield a hat-trick. Which way does he go? He goes under the mountain and keeps on going under the ridge and stops to go back under it. Justin Sweeney looking to get up high and close down the space, and so he disappears under the mountain. And happy to wait there, Rob Shield. He nearly loses his footing, but scrambles clear in the loading bay. Dive through it, Justin Sweeney. And a collapse
That was
from Rob
crazy.
Shield over the ridge. He just had no more to give.
Yeah, you can see that exhaustion coming through now in the later stages of this final in World Chase Tag USA. Rob just making a couple of slip-ups. I saw that one there off the Zaxby sign, just pushing off the border, and then again, not quite making it far enough past the loading bay.
Chase 9, Hollywood Freerunners, evading 2-1, Apex. Athletes ready!
Justin Sweeney starting at the base of the mountain. Olaf Wood gets up high, drops down, but Justin Sweeney can't keep that pace. It was just like diving into treacle. Well, I don't know how to describe those moves from Olaf Wood, and I'm not sure that Miguel Diaz knows quite what to think of him.
Chase 10, Apex evading 2-1, Apex. Athletes ready!
Miguel Diaz just prowling around on that starter plate, but off goes Olaf Wood. Nearly slips off the platform there, but he manages to maintain some speed as he goes around the loading bay and under the mountain, and Miguel stretches out a hand and gets an ankle or a foot. Whatever it was a tag.
Chase 11, Hollywood Freerunners evading 2-1, Apex. Athletes ready!
Michael Sliger going after Miguel Diaz, who was just rubbing his calf there. Don't know if he had a touch of cramp, but no sign of it there as he crawls to freedom and then gets on the sisters, turns back the other way, and Sliger again. How many swipes did he need?
3, apparently.
Chase 12, Apex evading 2-1, Apex. Athletes ready!
Carl Soderman, the totem for this Hollywood free-running team, been the key to their success, but can he stop Michael Sliger from leveling this final up? As Sliger going out round the rim, using those boards to spring off and onto these sisters and across court, and Soderman is not getting close to him, not getting close enough, and look at the celebration. Michael Sliger has held off Carl Soderman, and it is 3-1 Apex.
And not only that, 3-1 to get that leading evasion. This is what Kyle is known for, switching up that style, switching up his approach, and now Michael's using that against him.
Chase 13, Apex evading. Match point, Apex. Athletes ready!
The title is on the line, and Michael Sliger can reach out his hands and grab it for Apex. Dale Smith has got to stop him. He hops out of the mountain, dives back low underneath, and Sliger nearly gets away.
I think you
but
can
doesn't
only
manage
score
it.
if you evade, it seems like.
And it is all down to Dale Smith now to see if he can get back level.
Chase 14, Hollywood Freerunners evading. Match point, Apex.
Oh my
Athletes
days!
ready!
He's only been put in once before, and Amos Rendao has sent himself in to try and win the title right now for Apex. Talk about using him sparingly. Oh, and he smashed into the front line there, but Dale Smith didn't know where he was, and Rendao...
Oh, what?
Surely this time, he's done it! Absolutely incredible! There were
Wow.
at least 3 mistakes.
Did you see that like
Got to
spin
stop
move?
him.
That
He
was
hops
crazy.
out of the mountain, dives back.
Hollywood Freerunners evading. Match point, Apex.
Oh my
Athletes
days!
ready!
He's only been put in once
Watching this
before,
again.
and Amos Rendao has sent himself in to try and win the title right now for Apex. Talk about using him sparingly. Oh, and he smashed into
Watch
the
this.
front
This
line
is
there.
so
Dale
crazy.
Smith didn't know where he was, and Rendao, surely this time, he's done it. Absolutely incredible. There were at least 3 mistakes from the pair of them in that one, but it does not matter because Amos Rendao sending himself in.
That's
to
crazy.
take his Apex team to glory and become the World Chase Tag USA champions. Kyle Soderman, undoubtedly one of the breakthrough stars of this tournament. He helped the Hollywood Freerunners battle their way through to the final, but Apex proved a hurdle too far. They're the ones who take the trophy. They're the ones who take the title. They're the ones who are World Chase Tag USA champions.
They get bathrobes. Congratulations, you win. Here's some bathrobes. Okay, that's pretty cool. All right, hold on. We're gonna, you know what we're gonna do? We're subscribing right now. Let's see if there's a rules video. There's got to be like a rules, right? Oh, dude. What? They have outdoor ones too, you guys. This is a month ago. Dude, we're watching this first.
Luke versus Richard. Chase 1. Richard evading.
Look at him outside, dude.
It is semi-finals time at World Chase Tag Backyard Fight Club with Vite Rahman in aid of the teenage...
Backyard Fight Club.
And it is Richard Thompson, the #1 seed. Was there a tag on the hand? I don't believe there was. Nobody's given it. So on we go, and Richard Thompson round the front by the front line. And there's space. There is space to the tilted cube. Oh! And Luke manages to make the tag. 17 seconds, we're told. The tag is made. That was tight, was it not, Jimmy?
It looked like it was falling out of Luke's hands there. Like, just before the cameras were rolling, I was saying just how confident Luke is looking. But when that started happening, it looked like it was falling out of Luke's hands, but he managed to clasp on. Just last moments there.
Chase 2. Luke evading. 0 all.
First round.
Athletes ready!
He is the top seed. And can he chase down Luke Stones? Oh, a little bit of juke in one way and another. Over the front line, there's no EQ there, but it does not matter. It does certainly there, though. A little reach through the bars there. There is.
Okay, this is fucking sweet. We're gonna, you know what? We're not gonna oversaturate this rabbit hole. I refuse. We're gonna let's see if we can find the rules. Here we go.
Here is a quick video explaining the format for the World Chase Tag Team Chase-Off. Each team has 4 players. Each chase lasts 20 seconds and has 1 chaser and 1 evader. Whoever wins stays on as the evader, and you get 1 point for every evasion you make.
Oh, okay. So you don't get a point for the tag, but you get 1 for every evasion.
Matches are divided into sets, and if a set ends in a draw, there is a sudden death chase-off.
Sudden death
Each
chase-off.
sudden death round has 2 10-second chases with alternating chasers, and the first team to end a round ahead gains victory. Thanks a lot for watching.
Okay. So that's kind of interesting, right? All right, we'll watch more. You haven't seen the last of this.
I'm glad Stephen Hawking can still get work.
Aren't we all, buddy? Aren't we all? Let's do you guys, what do you guys want to do? You want to do news or do you want to do fucking crazy? Do you guys know about the Turpin family? Here, let's do this first. This I want to do right meow.
That's a live look at Tokyo this morning. And speaking of, you may have heard of a cool new cat that is taking the city by storm. Lucy Kraft has the story.
The Godzilla of felines has been pussyfooting around Shinjuku, a bustling commercial district in the heart of Tokyo. Every few minutes, giant cat briefly pops into view, flicking his tail and gazing upon a growing band of admirers below. For them, the supersized pet is the cat's meow. With the pandemic, we don't have any way to chill out, said this hotel employee. We're dog people, but the cat is so adorable, it's soothing. Like most cats, this one operates on its own time with only short appearances throughout the day. This bank worker said, "That giant cat looks like it's ready to pounce. It's really powerful and cute. I loved it, but I would have liked just a few more seconds with the kitty." From its 1,600 square foot perch, the monster ball of fur has its own live stream feed and Twitter account with 17,000 followers. Ultra-high resolution curved video signage is rapidly generating copycats across Asia. Last year, the Starship Enterprise appeared to fly out of a wall and over the heads of shoppers in Chengdu, China. And in Taiwan, an LED cyclops menaced pedestrians. But here in Japan, it's the pause that refreshes. For CBS This Morning Saturday, Lucy Kraft, Tokyo.
Pretty cool, right? I thought you guys would enjoy that. A quick little whatever. Yeah, 3D signage is getting like really crazy and really popular. Yeah, bladder control medicine in 3D sounds lit. Fucking weird, man. Pretty cool stuff. None of them is really as cool as the cat, but you know, whatever. All right, let's jump into this. Okay, here. This is a story that not a lot of people. Let me just make sure we got. Yeah. Okay, let's do it. Here we go.
If you ever needed proof that looks can deceive, it's right here, in the quiet middle-class suburb of Perris in Southern California. From the outside, this ordinary family home looks like all the others. But its bland exterior hides one of America's worst cases of abuse. Inside, 13 children were chained up, starved, and tortured, suffering horrendous mistreatment that went on for years. In court, parents, David and Louise Turpin, denied any wrongdoing, which means a jury will now decide the truth of this shameful case. It's the picture of suburbia. Identical cookie-cutter homes sitting side by side. A real-life Pleasantville where working-class mums and dads try to achieve the all-American dream. Or so you think. Under this roof, in the middle of it all, lived a secret depravity. The worst of human behaviour, thinly disguised as one big, happy family. When you saw Louise's mugshot on TV, did you recognise her as your sister?
She looks so different. You know, you can look at someone in their eyes and you can kind of, you know, see a lot into them, you know. And with her, it's just like she was dead inside. And she was kind of had like a smirky grin. That really made me mad.
Hello? On the 14th of January, a 17-year-old girl rang 911, claiming to have escaped from this house in Paris, California.
They are abusive, and 2 of my sisters are chained up.
The 17-year-old said she and her 12 siblings were held captive, subjected to repeated abuse, torture, and starvation by the very people they should have trusted most. Their parents, David and Louise Turpin.
They began to be tied up, first with ropes, and then using chains and padlocks.
What police found behind this closed door is beyond comprehension. Children chained to their beds, others starved to near skin and bone. A torture chamber covered in filth and the stench of rotting animals.
The abuse and severe neglect intensified over time and intensified as they moved to California.
But according to the person who knew Louise Turpin best, her sister, Teresa Robinette, the horrific truth of this tragic situation can be traced back to a family secret that turned her once naive sibling into a cruel, sadistic psychopath. The circumstances of her childhood are pretty grim.
Yeah.
How much of an impact do you think that's had on this outcome?
In my heart, I feel like a big part of it. You hear people say, you know, sometimes the abused can become the abuser, but I'm so angry with her right now. It's hard for me to give her any excuse.
You know, when I think about Mama's house, I can still picture it the way it looked when she was alive.
Teresa and her brother, Billy Lambert, rarely come back here to their hometown of Princeton, West Virginia. Despite its natural beauty, it will always be the birthplace of the cycle of abuse that has forever tormented their family. So this is where it all began for you?
Yes.
Where it all started. And this is the house that you and Louise were brought up in?
Yeah. This looked like a happy home on the outside, but inside it was miserable.
For you then, being here now,
It's sad.
does it evoke memories of love or anxiety?
Hurt. I'm sorry.
They must run very deep.
I wasn't gonna cry.
You okay? For Teresa, the family home in Princeton is the original House of Horrors. If ever there was any defense of Louise Turpin's future abusive behavior toward her own children, this is it. As little girls, she and Teresa were repeatedly sexually assaulted by their grandfather. And worse still, their own mother condoned and encouraged it.
Louise went through the same thing we went through with my grandfather, which was probably the darkest, hardest thing for any of us girls to deal with.
Your grandfather abusing you?
Oh yeah, bad. My mom would take us to him daily. She was pretty much selling us for money to live on. And that's how it is. I mean, I don't like saying it like that, and it breaks my heart. But it is what it is. You know, I mean, that's what it is.
He was taking it out on his granddaughters. That's almost unbelievable.
What people don't realize is, you know, like, It's his house of horrors. Like, that's where it all began.
The family were devout Pentecostal Christians, and it was here, at this church in the early 1980s, that Louise met David Turpin. She was barely a teen, and he was in his 20s. But the two fell in love, and as soon as she turned 16, Louise seized an opportunity to escape her recurring nightmare at home by running away with David.
I used to pick on him all the time and joke with him because he was the geek, the nerd, and I was like, well, Louise didn't marry handsome, but she married rich. She is anything she wants.
In the space of 15 years, David and Louise had 8 children, raising them with military precision and routinely dressing them in uniform clothing. From the outside, the Turpins lived a life of wealth and success. David was a highly paid engineer, and they would fly the family, including brother Billy, to visit them every year.
You know, we thought that she had the perfect life, she had the perfect husband, we thought that she was happy. Anytime they wanted something, they did it, because we always saw pictures of them going to Disneyland or going to Las Vegas.
I promise to love you tender.
And we're like, well, you kind of have to have money to keep going to Las Vegas. Face to face, I thought they were just a normal, happy family.
It's still unclear why, but in 1998, something changed in the Turpin household. Louise and David completely withdrew, not only from their family, but also from the outside world. They were secretly bankrupt, which meant an end to the yearly holidays. And in the first of many strange signs, they began to homeschool all 8 of their children. Teresa also noticed the kids didn't look quite right.
There was Skype for a while, and we would make comments. I remember making the comment that they were all so little. I remember Louise laughing it off, and, well, they're just gonna be tall and lanky like David, But they didn't look severely malnourished. They looked healthy. They just looked small. And I think she clothed them in a way that we couldn't see. And I think when the questions started, she cut off visual contact and just talked to us on the phone.
She was pretty cunning, wasn't she?
Yeah.
But she went out of her way to keep it going.
Yeah, for a long time.
Didn't you think it was strange that she was homeschooling all those kids?
Yeah, and her excuse to us was, well, the crime rate's always bad, or the kids are getting picked on too much, and I don't like them feeling, down on themselves.
She was committing the biggest crimes.
She was doing the worst of it, yeah.
What no one knew then, but we all know now, is this pretense of at-home education was masking abuse behind closed doors.
I don't want to alarm people that are homeschooled, but maybe we could do a little bit more auditing for situations like that. Maybe we can learn that, hey,
Yeah, maybe we could just violate people's personal freedom because 1 out of every whatever X million trillion of people is going to have a house of horror. Shut the fuck up, lady. God, that's stupid.
Why is it that people are homeschooling their kids? Is it because it's best for the kids, or is it because...
Oh, it couldn't possibly be because the public school systems are trash and they're going to tell your kids a bunch of shit that maybe isn't true? Like, see, this is what I hate, right? This opportunistic bitch right here is like, hey, I can see a chance to fucking over-legislate and make people get intrusive bullshit in their house. This is an outlier of horrific activity, right? Like, this is horrific. This is not the normal. And to act like that we should look into it and do all this shit because, oh, this one fucking psycho used that. It's fucking insane. This is insanity right here.
It's best to keep their secrets.
We've been sleeping in there.
Okay, why is this door blocked? Can you move that out and open the door?
Sadly, in America, what happened to the Turpin 13 is not an isolated case. JC Dugard was 11 years old when in 1991, she was abducted by psychopath Philip Garrido. He repeatedly raped her and held her captive for 18 years.
The hidden backyard had sheds, tents, and outbuildings where JC and the girls spent most of their lives.
Alison Jacobs was the police officer who uncovered Garrido's sadistic crimes and says, just like the Turpins, he got away with the brutality for too long because his victim, JC, became conditioned to her reality.
And it's frustrating as a law enforcement or anyone if the victims aren't asking for help. Because if they're not asking for help or giving any kind of clue that there's something wrong, how is anybody really to know? With the turbans, if the kids never said anything was wrong, maybe they don't even think anything was wrong with how they were growing up. That was their normal, and they were perfectly fine with it.
But they're conditioned, aren't they, from day one?
Yes, of course. They're conditioned from day one. And they don't know anything different. So why would they ask for help?
Coming up, a failed escape. The kid's horrible existence was almost uncovered.
Okay, I mean, it's fucking crazy, right? Like, this shit is nuts. Here's part 2.
If ever there was a perfect place to hide a secret life from the world, Rio Vista, Texas is a standout choice. Rural properties separating neighbours by big yards. This is another house of horrors in this sad, sordid tale of the Turpin 13. By the year 2000, David, Louise, and 8 of their kids were living in this home, isolated from family who they'd never see in person again. Behind closed doors, their cruelty and severe neglect had well and truly begun to escalate. What did you think?
Thought it was going to be great. Our kids are finally going to have some other kids to play with. We're out in the country. We're by ourselves and lonely, and we thought we were going to have some nice neighbors.
Ricky and Shelley Vineyard and their daughters, Ashley and Barbara, spent a decade living right across this gravel road from the Turpins in Rio Vista. Even with distance separating them, it was clear there was something disturbing about their new neighbours.
Ashley would go over there and play with them. I think that she may have been the only friend that they ever had.
Right. Well, she
all the other kids would make fun of them because they said they smelled bad, they were dirty, they had weird haircuts, they wore weird clothes.
So at the start, she was allowed to play with them?
Yes, until it got weird. And then I had to pull her back. I had come across the kids out there with Ashley. One of the younger girls looked at the older girl, and then I noticed how white her hands were. At first, I thought they were gloves. And I said, whoa, I thought you had gloves on there for a minute. And she goes, you wash to the wrist or else you're wasting water. And the way she spoke was really, strange, like she might be a little slow.
She was telling you that she'd been told not to wash
past the wrist.
Above the wrist.
Or you were wasting water.
When the Turpins came here to rural Texas, they had 8 children. By the time they left, 10 years later, they'd added another 4. It was also here that the kids' horrible existence was almost uncovered when the eldest child plucked up the courage to run away. She was picked up a little way down this road by a neighbour, but sadly, due to the extreme malnourishment and her lack of education, everyone simply thought she was mentally challenged, and she was returned to her parents.
After that happened, you started seeing the kids outside again during the daylight and in the evenings, and then they'd pull them back in, and then after a couple of weeks, they withdrew them again.
You two never thought for a moment to pick up the phone and maybe...
Oh, absolutely.
Maybe ring someone?
We thought about it, but then again, you're out in the country and you mind your own business, and you figure they want their business kept to themselves also, and you don't realize what you're seeing. Evil is very deceptive. It can look good from a surface if you don't get in there too deep.
By 2010, as David and Louise Turpin's secret perversions were beginning to become more obvious in Texas, they moved across country to California. What they left behind is something Ricky Vineyard will never be able to erase from his memory.
We walked off into the house. Desks were lined up where they had the little homeschool. They had a giant whiteboard, but the house smelled of funk. All of the closets had padlocks. The refrigerators had padlocks. All the cabinets had padlocks. Everything in the house was locked down.
They had brand new bikes sitting on the carport, and they just sat there and rotted. Never got played with.
Yeah, it was like mental torture where you put the toy in front of a child, but you can't play with it.
Were there beds?
Yeah, there were beds. There were bunk beds, but there were ropes on the bunk beds.
Some of them didn't even have mattresses anymore, just looked like the mattresses had rotted.
There were dead cats. While we were wading through this mess, there were rats jumping up. I like to think I'm fairly clean, but man, that right there was disgusting. It was a house of horrors, a true house of horrors. You know, it was right up under our nose and we didn't see it.
In hindsight then, you now think you definitely should have told somebody?
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, if we saw it again, we'd recognize it for what it is.
What that is, for police officer Alison Jacobs, is a missed opportunity to alert authorities to children in danger.
She should heal. She should move on.
Having saved kidnapping victim JC Dugard back in 2009, she believes part of the responsibility lies with neighbours like the Vineyards to raise the alarm if there's any fears or doubts.
It's a fine line and it's a very difficult gray area. But it all comes back to not ignoring your gut. Humans have great instincts and intuition, and we choose to ignore it. And I don't know why.
Do you feel a bit guilty now?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh yes, yeah.
Absolutely.
People are so afraid to be wrong. If you call on your neighbor because you think something's a little suspicious, and if someone follows up, nothing's wrong. Well, at least you tried. You did your part. That's all you can do is your part.
Coming up, searching for reasons why. You reckon?
Oh shit. I don't know why they have these all like split into parts. I guess it's for commercials, right?
After settling in California in 2010, Louise Turpin, now 47 years old, gave birth to her and husband David's 13th child.
That's so many kids.
The domestic torture chamber was in full flight. And even though several of the children were adults, all 13 were rarely allowed out. They were often chained to their beds, fed once a day, bathed once a year, and had no communication with the outside world. At the same time, Teresa Robinette says her sister and David had been pulled into a vortex of new temptations, including partying, gambling, and sexual exploits.
Louise had called me. She just told me that her and David had walked away from the church. They had been looking into other religions, but then eventually they did dabble into witchcraft. And I know that for a fact. She even talked to me about it. Because I told her that, that was a scary thing.
You reckon they found some cult that they decided?
Something evil it had to be. I mean, because where else, what else would make you do something like that? That's just pure evil.
How do you still make the leap from maybe being completely stupid in your private life to torturing and abusing your children?
See, that's what I don't get. I knew they were making some wrong choices, but I never in a million years would have thought that it had anything to do with danger to the kids.
In the very early hours of January 14 this year, David and Louise Turpin's 17-year-old daughter finally made a run for it. It was an escape she'd been planning for more than 2 years. She called 911 from a disconnected phone.
Can someone help me?
With the extraordinary story that she and all her siblings had been held captive by her parents.
They are abusive, and 2 of my sisters are chained up.
She'd never seen a police officer, didn't know what a hospital or medication was. But her brave act meant finally the 13 prisoners were free.
Neighbors say they are simply in shock.
It seemed that the mother was perplexed as to why we were at that residence.
I literally, was froze to my couch. I could not believe what I was hearing. It was crazy. It was like a whole new family. It wasn't even it was a whole new, everything was a lie. Was my first thought, everything was a lie. All the stories and the conversations and the hours it was all a lie. It was all a lie.
All 13 victims were severely malnourished and mentally underdeveloped. The Turpin's 29-year-old weighed just 37 kilos. The 17-year-old had the IQ of a first grader.
I thought they were isolated. No friends came over. No family came over.
I just can't understand that it went for so long without being recognized.
It's almost hard to believe, but neighbours living just metres away denied any knowledge of the unfathomable conditions those children were living in. For Louise's brother Billy, that's something too difficult to accept.
I'm disappointed at the neighbors. One had which said that they were marching in a circle at nighttime upstairs and they saw them in the window. To me, that seems a little strange right there. I mean, I would at least go knock on the door and be like, is everything okay? There was another neighbor that came forward that said 2 of the older boys were digging in the trash cans at night. So to me, how's that not a red flag?
All your nieces and nephews appear to have been starved, psychologically abused, most certainly, held captive in various ways. Do you think your sister Louise is capable of that sort of stuff?
She shocked us, that's for sure.
If found guilty, Louise and David Turpin face 94 years in prison for their sick crimes. Their 13 children, who are currently in the care of the state, have already been dealt life sentences, dealing with the psychological and emotional damage created by their wicked parents.
I called the lawyer's office today.
Teresa Robinette and Billy Lambert have only this voicemail from Louise, left just 2 days before her arrest, as the final memory of a sister they now say is dead to them.
All right, Billy. Love you. Bye-bye.
Why do you go through all the pain and all the rest to have 13 children and then treat them like that?
I have said the same thing. And what makes me so mad is, we would ask her, are you going to have any more kids? Are you done? And she would literally tell us, like, she wants 20. She don't care if she has 25. She's going to keep having them till God won't give her anymore. And
So we can only be eternally grateful that you didn't have 20.
oh, yeah. Or 14.
Your sister has repeated the cycle of abuse, hasn't she?
Yes. All the abuse together that she went through, I think, made her mind whatever her mind was. I think it destroyed her self-worth and made her think that that was okay, maybe.
What does justice look like for your sister?
In my head, there is no justice for what she's done to those babies. So I really hope they're getting what they deserve in prison, and that's just the way I look at it. I have absolutely no pity.
You happy to throw away the key?
Yeah, absolutely. Let them deal with her in there, and David.
Hello, I'm Tom Steinfeld.
Okay. So that's the Tarpon family, the House of Horrors, as it were. But then there's let's go to this next.
Veteran police and prosecutors.
13 children being held captive, abused, and tortured by their parents inside a home in Riverside County. It was only discovered when one of those children escaped and called 911. She and one of her sisters are now speaking publicly for the first time. Our Leanne Suter's live with this ABC News exclusive. Leanne?
That 911 call absolutely gut-wrenching, but what investigators learned after about the abuse and torture going on inside that home, absolutely stunning. 13 children all held hostage in their own home. Now 2 of the siblings speaking out.
My whole body was shaking. I couldn't really dial 911 because I'm sorry.
That 911 call after her escape from her house of horrors. 13 siblings held captive at their parents'
Hey, somebody give Rocky Donut a sub. That's my friend Rachel. She's super cool. Hit it.
home, saving their
Actually,
lives.
wait. There's a hype train. There's a hype train coming around the bend here pretty soon. Why don't we wait for that? That'll help. We're at. It'll be in about 10 minutes.
911, do you have an emergency? I just got away from home because I live in a family of 15 and we have abusing parents.
Diane Sawyer talking exclusively to two of the Turpin siblings about their horrifying ordeal.
I think it was like us coming so close to death so many times. Mother, she choked me, and I thought I was gonna die. The only word I know to call it is hell.
Their parents, David and Louise Turpin, pleading guilty to torture, child cruelty, and false imprisonment after years of abusing and torturing their children.
How are they tied up, with rope or with what? With chains. They're chained up to their bed.
The gut-wrenching 911 call just the tip of the torture and horrifying conditions found inside the family's home. For the first time and never before seen, police body cam video of the rescue.
How many kids do you have? 13. Sarge, you got another room in the front right here with 2 kiddos in the bed.
Locks on the bed, the children severely malnourished. The siblings speaking out, sharing their strength, courage, and will to survive.
Oh my gosh, this is so free. Like, this is life. I want Turpin name. Like, wow, they're strong. They're not broken.
David and Louise Turpin were both sentenced to life in prison. They're eligible for parole in 25 years.
Hello, I'm Mark Brown. Get more great ABC.
No, you're not. Nuh-uh. Yeah, so this is... When does this air? This interview airs... It either aired or it does air soon.
13 siblings held captive by their parents.
The chilling discovery inside a family home.
For the first time, a survival story like you've never seen.
Hello, this is 911. Do you have an emergency? I just got away from home because I live in a family of 15 and we have abusing parents.
Now, finally hear from the family.
My whole body was shaking. I couldn't really dial 911 because...
Ooh, I like the heartbeat. That's extra intense.
How you had the courage.
I think it was like us coming so close to death so many times. It was literally a now or never. If something happened to me, at least I died trying.
Never before seen.
My 2 little sisters right now, chained up.
Where are they chained up at?
On the bed.
What are your parents going to do when they find out you left?
They're gonna want to literally kill me.
No weapons in the house.
I do have guns. It's locked up.
How many kids do you have?
13.
Sarge, you got another room in the front right here with 2 kiddos in the bed.
Stop me dead in my tracks.
Starved, beaten, tied up.
What do you know about why these 2 people did this to their children?
13 times over.
There are cases that stick with you, that haunt you, and that's what we're looking at here.
Every day did you wake up in terror? Sometimes people were chained for, what, months?
Yeah.
Months?
Yeah.
Unbearable.
Yeah. Mother, she choked me, and I thought I was gonna die.
The only word I know to call it is hell.
And what has happened since?
People couldn't believe this.
The public deserves to know.
Staggering strength, courage, and the will to survive. The escape from horror.
My parents took my whole life from me, but now I'm taking my life back. Oh my gosh, this is so free. Like, this is life.
I want Turpin name. Like, wow, they're strong. They're not broken. They've got this.
Escape from a House of Horror. A Diane Sawyer
so
special
this is
event.
on
Friday night, November 19th.
That's on Friday, November 19th. So that's pretty fucking... It's a fucking crazy fucking story. Let me see here. Here's the sentencing.
Remain seated. Come to order. Court is now in session.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen. Go on the record in the case of People versus David and Louise Turpin, RAF 180-033.
Morning, Your Honor. Jeff Moore from Ms. Turpin. She is present before the court of custody.
And good morning, Your Honor. Allison Lowe on behalf of David Turpin, also on his behalf, Brian Cosgrove and Judith Warner present. Morning, Your Honor. Kevin Begonia for the people.
Good morning, Kevin Beecham for the people.
Wait, hold on. You know what we're gonna do first? I want to see the verdict first. Let's watch them fucking cry, these fucking scumbags.
We have breaking news. A Paris couple.
Oh, I guess it was the thing. Okay.
29 and count 30 people having emotion dependent adult.
Hold on. Hold on. We'll find it. Give me a sec.
I want the court to know that our parents loved each other and loved each of their children. People in Texas, even friends, said our parents were having too many children. Our parents didn't agree. They felt that God blessed them with all their children. So they kept away from the world and trusted God would guide them through life. Our mother wrote 2 small notes to our father. The first note reads, "Always let God be in control of your life. We have a perfect life because God has always taken such good care of us. I am so thankful to God for this. I would love for us to pray together on a regular basis. Spend our time with God will make our life more awesome." The second note reads, "Children are the most awesome gift ever. I've always known our precious and wonderful children are. When they are your own, it's even awesome. The best gifts ever." Through the years, things became more and more overwhelming, but they kept trusting in God. I remember our mother sitting in her recliner and crying, saying she don't know what to do. She didn't want to use rope or chain, but she was afraid her children were taking in too much sugar and caffeine. The reason our parents didn't stop buying the soda was because Father needed it for work. He would fall asleep driving and got in an accident. They didn't know what else to do. I believe our parents feared if they asked for help, they would lose their children. Our parents didn't know we were malnourished. They thought we all got the gene from our mother because she was so small. I remember Mother saying, "God has blessed us with healthy..."
It's so weird. All right, I can't watch that shit. Hold on.
My siblings
lose their children. 2016.
They're gifted their parents, like, is the bargain for child.
Yeah, thank you.
So, did not have any firearms, is that correct, Mr. Moore?
It is, and I asked for the order to release all
housing in that prison system. All right.
Thank you. No.
All right, at this time, court will order that defendants be transported for defendants.
It's just too goddamn long. Whatever, can't do it.
Maybe
Sorry,
if
guys,
he wasn't
I tried.
fucking all the time, he wouldn't be so sleepy.
What? Who? That guy? I don't know what you're fucking talking about. Whatever. Let's do Vegas water right now, huh?
Epic water crisis, so much so that the feds have issued a water shortage declaration. Many people are cutting back, but there's still a lot of water being used for a lot of different reasons. 13 Chief Investigator Darcy Spears shows us the top water users of the past 18 months and asks them what they're doing to help reduce that.
We wanted to question the top users. None would go on camera, and some didn't even respond, but they are just part of the water puzzle. We collected data from the Las Vegas Valley Water District, North Las Vegas, and Henderson, looking at both commercial and residential users throughout 2020 and the first half of 2021 to see if the highest users continued their record consumption.
Nearly all of our indoor water is treated and returned to Lake Mead. The water that we use outdoors is the water that we only use once. That's really the water that we consume as a community.
The bathtub ring around Lake Mead is perhaps the starkest reminder of how much water our community has lost. But there's another lake that has no ring, and it's the biggest commercial water user of all. Lake Las Vegas in Henderson used more than 1.2 billion gallons in 2020, and through June of this year, they've already used over 400 million. For perspective, it takes a little over 1 million gallons to fill 2 Olympic-sized swimming pools. Henderson officials tell us raw water is taken directly from Lake Mead to replenish Lake Las Vegas. Using less than half the water of Lake Las Vegas, but still in the top tier.
You do have golf courses on that list.
Angel Park, Red Rock, and Southern Highlands golf clubs each used over 400 million gallons to keep courses green in 2020, but they used to use much more.
Golf courses in southern Nevada have removed the equivalent of 9 professional golf courses just by taking grass out of the non-playing areas.
Big properties on the Strip are next on the list. The Venetian, famously surrounded by water like its Italian city namesake, uses over 400 million gallons. Wynn, Caesars, and Mandalay Bay soak up a little less, around 350 million each. Rounding out the top commercial users is the Summerlin Council with 342 million gallons.
Part of this revolves around the fact that this is a huge master plan, 22,500 acres. We've got 115,000 residents so far.
That's the size of a small city.
So if you think of Summerlin as a city, then of course you're going to have parks, which we have over 250 parks, and that's about 465 acres of park setting, just like we're standing in here. And that's going to use a lot of water.
Before we tap into the top residential water users, I want to explain why we are not looking at schools or cities that maintain many municipal parks. Sunset Park has that big lake. Cities maintain dog parks and splash pads, little neighborhood parks and athletic fields. Those kinds of things are considered public use for the greater good of the community. Drilling down to water use where you live, we found many homeowner associations on top water user lists. Apartment complexes are naturally also big water users, as that often includes tenant indoor use, which can be lumped into one big account. When it comes to single-family residences, the average home uses about 125,000 gallons in a year, but it's the multi-million-dollar mansions soaking up millions of gallons of water. This property used over 12 million gallons in 2020. It's on the same pace this year, using 6.3 million by the end of June. It sits on nearly 16 acres in Spanish Trail, and federal court records tie the estate to a prince of Brunei. Common lot sizes in Las Vegas are about 1/10 to 1/6 of an acre, meaning up to 160
Dude, that's so much fucking water.
typical houses.
I'll tell you this is the fucking problem with Vegas. I lived there for 2 years, and both years we were in a drought, and if you watered your lawn, you got in trouble, but like the Bellagio water show went off every night like nothing.
Could fit here. The property management company declined to comment on water use, citing a non-disclosure agreement, but the Las Vegas Valley Water District says thanks to past participation in the Water Smart program.
But one thing to keep in mind is that that property has removed more than 70,000 square feet of grass,
cutting water use by 5 million gallons. A mansion belonging to the late Sheldon Adelson in Summerlin's exclusive TPC golf course community used 11.2 million gallons in 2020, more than 5.3 million in the first half of this year. Through a spokesperson, the Adelson family declined to comment. Using just over 10 million gallons is a Henderson water customer at the Rio Seco Golf Club. The homeowner is listed as Via Tivoli LLC. So far this year, the home has used just under 4 million gallons, so they may have made water-saving changes. Sources tell us the home belongs to eBay founder Pierre Omidyar. We left multiple messages with his foundation's media team, but never got a response. Station Casino's owner Lorenzo Fertitta's house at TPC used over 9.5 million gallons on a 2.14-acre lot last year, 4.3 million so far this year. No one would talk to us on camera, but a spokesperson for the Fertitta family says the property is in the process of making changes to conserve water. Back in Henderson, the 5th highest water user of single-family homes belongs to the Karagli family, which owns the Oasis Windmill RV Park, the New Pioneer in Laughlin, and various other companies. They used 8.8 million gallons in 2020, and they're on pace this year with 4 million gallons used in the first 6 months. But the Water District says they've already made water-saving changes. Looking at the bigger picture, the combined water use of all top 100 residential users in the Las Vegas Valley Water District adds up to about 270 million gallons. For perspective,
I mean, their water use in comparison with all of the water use throughout the valley is equal to less than 1%. So that is why conservation is important for everybody.
cue the heavy equipment. Some of the valley's biggest HOAs are already making big changes that will translate into big savings in water use. That story tomorrow on Good Morning Las Vegas. Darcy Spears, 13 Investigates.
The Fifth Circuit
Oh, God,
Court of Appeals
no.
has temporarily blocked
So that's the mandate stuff. Fine.
Nevada's in the throes of an epic water.
No. Okay, there we go. There we go. We're back. We're back, baby. Baby, we're back. I want to see this. This is written our.
You indicated that at no time did this gun, this AR-15, ever leave the state of Wisconsin. Is that right?
Other than the night after, other than that.
Before the shootings?
Correct.
There was a time, though, where you wanted to have it with you down in Illinois, isn't it? It wasn't there?
I believe there was a time when me and Dominic were mad at each other. Yeah.
You were mad at Dominic?
Me and Dominic were mad over something.
And you wanted to have the gun with you down there?
I think I said something along those lines.
You'd agree with me that let me back up for a second here. You have testified to this jury that you used deadly force against Joseph Rosenbaum, Anthony Huber, the man who attempted to kick you in the face, and Gage Grosskreutz on the night of
No, he's
August
getting
25th,
innocent, Connor.
correct?
Yes.
And you did that because you felt that your life was in danger from those four people, correct?
All right. Hey, we're eligible for a hype train. Let's do this shit. 1 hour in. Let's go. 800-bit donos gets us started. Let's get rolling. Yeah, you guys got this shit. I knows you do. I knows it. Mr. Approachable better be donating 100 bits. We gave him back his mod sword, even though he didn't ask for it. Pay for that mod sword, baby. Oh, Crode gave one to Rocky Donut. Thank you so much, Crode. Crode's the best. God damn it, Crode. Crode, when I come back, I'm going to have to, I don't even know. Wear, a French girl outfit and clean your house or some shit. I feel like I owe you rent.
Former STMS bits.
Former STMS bits. That's crazy, man. I appreciate it. You can give both. I don't know, man. I don't want to feel like I'm taken away, but I will take them. I don't know. There's a lot of anger coming out these days, so I just, I don't ever want us to get to that, man. We're trying to just work our way up and get it going. It's all good. I offer you servitude, and you're like, it's all good. God, my servitude is not needed. I see how this is. I see how it is. 943 subscriptions, trying to battle our way back up to 1,000. Let's go. 53 more, and we get to that goal. How cool is that? That's pretty cool. Kids can go hungry, dude. Mr. Approachable. That's so funny. Is it going to say it?
I'm already way over budget for this month, but if you're going to twist my arm, I suppose my kids can go hungry for one day.
Yeah, they can. It's fine. Whoa, Bob Loblaw gifting some subs. That's sweet, dude. You're awesome. Also, don't forget to get into the Discord and come hang out with us. I don't think that Jantis prick will be there, but maybe. Who knows, right? He's been kidnapping people, so yeah. If you see Jantis in the Discord, tell him he sucks from all of us. Piece of trash, that guy. Look at that. Level 2. 76%. With those donos, how do we do? It never refreshes fast enough. Oh well, still says the same, so whatevers. I'm sorry that I chose kids over Corey. No, you're not. Should be off work soon. Crowd gifting another sub. Yeah, just don't tie your kids with chains to the beds and you should be all right. All right, let's watch this.
Correct. Yes.
You guys handle
And you
You guys handle this hype train. Do whatever you feel I deserve. And that's fine. Like, check it out. I'm not here to rabble-rouse you guys. I'm not going to yell at you. I'm not going to do anything. You guys are so fucking generous with me. I just want you to know that I really appreciate it. And anything you can give is appreciated. If you can't give anything or shit's tight, do me a favor. Just watch the show and enjoy. That's all. Super easy, right? Oh, wait. Oh, Jesus. Okay.
To use deadly force to protect your own life, correct?
Yes.
You'd agree with me that you were not allowed to use deadly force to protect that CarSource building, correct?
Well, I wasn't using deadly force to protect the property. I used
Mortgage payments are optional, aren't they?
Please listen to my question and answer my question if you can. You'd agree with me that you were not allowed to use deadly force to protect that CarSource building, correct?
Yes.
You'd agree with me that you were not allowed to use deadly force to stop someone from smashing the windows of an unoccupied parked car, correct?
I don't think you could use deadly force for that.
You'd agree with me that you can't use deadly force to stop someone from lighting a metal dumpster on fire, correct?
Correct.
You'd agree with me that you can't use deadly force to stop someone from tipping over.
Correct.
You'd agree you can't use deadly force to stop someone from lighting a flatbed.
Is it just me or does it sound like leading the witness? God, this prosecution is garbage.
Trailer on fire, correct?
Correct.
You'd agree with me that you can't use deadly force to stop someone who is about to start an unoccupied car on fire, correct?
Correct.
You'd agree with me that you can't use deadly force to stop someone from lighting some traffic cones in the middle of the street on fire, correct?
Correct.
So you understand that there's a difference between using deadly force to protect yourself and using it to protect property, correct?
Yes.
And you'd agree with me that you're not allowed to use deadly force to protect property, correct?
Yes.
But yet you have previously indicated that you wished you had your AR-15 to protect someone's property, correct?
I'm going to ask you to go into the library again for a moment, please. Please don't talk about the case.
Leading the witness all over the place, man. It's crazy. Level 3. Hold on. Wait. Level 3, 2 minutes left, 16%. Let's go.
Mr. Binger is either forgetting court's rulings or attempting to provoke a mistrial in this matter. He knows he can't go into this, and he's asking the questions. I asked the court to strongly admonish him, and the next time it happens, I'll be asking for a mistrial with prejudice. He's an
Mr. Binger?
First of all, Your Honor, this was the subject of a motion. I'm well aware of that. And the court left the door open.
For me, not for you.
My understanding of
You should have come and asked for reconsideration. You did on the one motion, and in fact, I granted your motion for reconsideration.
That was not our motion.
Excuse me. I did. I granted.
We did not move
that
to
was
reconsider.
their motion.
We have not filed any
me.
motions to reconsider in this case.
That was their motion for reconsideration, which I denied. But I said I denied it, or I indicated a bias towards denial is what I did. Held it open with a bias towards denial. Why would you think that that made it okay for you, without any advance notice, to bring this matter before the jury? You are already, I was astonished when you began your examination by commenting on the defendant's post-arrest silence. That's basic law. It's been basic law in this country for 40 years, 50 years. I have no idea why you would do something like that. And it gives, well, I'll leave it at that. So I don't know what you're up to.
May I respond?
Yes.
We filed another acts motion on this exact issue because, in my mind, and I argued this, it is identical to what was going on the night of August 25th, in the sense that the defendant was using this exact same weapon. He was using it in a manner to try and protect property.
No, he wasn't.
Your Honor, with all due respect...
I'm not going to rehash the motion. That's absolutely untrue. No. Your arguments of record, my comments are of record, and why I ruled as I did is of record. There's nothing that I heard in this trial to suggest anything's changed, even if you're correct in your assumption that you know more than I did at the time. You should have come to the court and say, I want to go into this. Why you would think that you could go into it without any advance notice to the court, I don't understand that. And as the defense is pointing out, you're an experienced trial lawyer, and this should not have been gone into.
Your Honor, there have been things in this case, testimony in this case, that I believe opens the door to this. For example, the defense has introduced evidence that the defendant pointed a gun at a man wearing yellow pants because that person was on a car on the car source lot. Now, there's no justification that I can think of why the defendant would point that gun at someone. The defendant has just testified this morning that he agreed with that person in the yellow pants, that he pointed the gun at him. He said, I was joking when I said that to the guy in the yellow pants, but he said, he's acknowledged that he told the person in the yellow pants, yeah, you're right. I did point a gun at you when you were sitting on a car.
He said, I did. That's what he
Exactly.
testified.
So he's agreeing. May I finish, please? I'd like to have a chance to make a record, if I could, without being interrupted, if that's okay. He has mentioned that he's acknowledged that he's used this gun to protect property. He's also just acknowledged that he knows he can't do that. I am attempting to impeach him now with the prior August 10th incident, 15 days prior, involving the same gun, where he is threatening to use that gun to protect property. It goes...
He had the gun with him.
Your Honor, he is saying he wished he did so he could shoot people.
You know, there's a lot of difference between commenting about something when you haven't got a gun and threatening someone when you do.
You know, it's interesting, Your Honor, because the entire defense theory in this case is Joseph Rosenbaum, who was unarmed.
I want you to tell me what the defense theory of the case is. I want...
May I respond to what you just said, Your Honor? I'd like to respond to what you just said. I apologize, Madam Court Reporter, but I'd like to try and make a record without anyone interrupting me, if that's okay. I believe that there is a central part of this case that Mr. Rosenbaum is making threats that he has no ability to carry out. So, to your point, Your Honor, you're arguing that this August 10th incident, one aspect of why you don't believe it's relevant is the defendant didn't have the gun with him. This case is about someone who didn't have a weapon, and yet the jury is being told because of those threats, that means the defendant has to defend himself. So, with all due respect, Your Honor, mere verbal threats have already been shown to this jury and used as a basis for someone's subsequent actions. I am attempting, with the defendant, to use his mere verbal threat on August 10th, 15 days prior, that he's going to shoot shoplifters with his AR-15 to impeach the defendant in a murder trial. I would ask the court's forbearance to do that. I apologize, Your Honor. You're right. I probably should have brought this to your attention earlier. I may have misunderstood your ruling because I...
Yeah, he misunderstood it. What a dickbag.
...made that more relevant. You would admit it, or at least consider it an admittance. I believe, based on the evidence that we've heard, and more specifically, exactly what the defendant said earlier about admitting pointing a gun at someone who was merely jumping or sitting on a car, that the door is open now to this testimony. And I continue to believe that his state of mind, his intent, his belief as to self-defense is the core of this case. That was the basis for my motion. You were strongly inclined against it. I understand that. But now we're in the middle of trial, and there's been a lot of evidence that's come in that I think makes this relevant. So I'm attempting to impeach the defendant on his beliefs. I believe I'm entitled to impeach the defendant on his beliefs and on his statements.
I'm going to interrupt you now because you're talking about his beliefs. I think that's what they call...
His statements too, Your Honor. Because he just said, can't use deadly force, can't threaten to use deadly force to protect property. So now I'm impeaching him on that.
Your Honor, the court has seen no reason to change its ruling. And just so this record is clear, in spite of the lengthy statement by Mr. Binger, before we started today, the court specifically stated in Mr. Binger's presence, there's been nothing to have me change any of my rulings. There have been numerous occasions during this trial where they've opened the door. The one time when they're going into Mr. Rosenbaum's prior, the reason he doesn't like guns, and I said something, I whispered in Mr. Krause's ear, it's because of the prior convictions. Please stop, and he did. He knows if you're going to go into something that's been excluded in a pretrial order, you better ask the court, you better get permission. This is ridiculous.
It wasn't excluded, Your Honor.
You know why it was excluded in the first place? Because it was propensity evidence. That is exactly what 90404 is designed to prevent. You're talking about his attitudes. His attitude is he wants to shoot people. Now, I've admitted that kind of evidence in other trials when it's been appropriate. I didn't admit it in this case because, to me, what I've heard in this trial, and by the way, Mr. Richards absolutely correctly points out that just hours ago, I said I had heard nothing in this trial to change any of my rulings. So why?
Testimony, Your Honor.
Pardon me?
That was before the defense testimony.
Don't get brazen with me. You knew very well. You know very well that an attorney can't go into these types of areas when the judge is already types of areas that an attorney knew very. Pardon me?
That was before the defense testimony.
Don't get brazen with me. So why?
Testimony, Your Honor. Testimony, Your Honor.
Pardon me?
That was before the.
Pardon me?
That was before the.
Don't with me.
Was before the.
Don't with me.
Was before the defense testimony.
Don't get brazen with me.
Was before the defense testimony.
Don't get brazen with me.
Was before the defense testimony.
Don't get brazen with me.
Was before the defense testimony.
Don't get brazen with me.
Was before the defense testimony.
Don't get brazen with me.
Was before the defense testimony.
Don't get brazen with me.
Was before the defense testimony.
Don't get brazen with me.
Was before the defense testimony.
Don't get brazen with me. You knew very well. You know very well that an attorney can't go into these types of areas when the judge has already ruled without asking outside the presence of the jury to do so. So don't give me that. That's number one. Number two, this is propensity evidence. I said at the time that I made my ruling, and I'll repeat again now for you, I see no similarity between talking about wishing you had your AR gun, which you don't have, so that you could fire rounds at these thought to be shoplifters, and the incidents in these cases, which are not, there's nothing in your case that suggests the defendant was lying in wait to shoot at somebody or reflecting upon the shooting for a vast amount of time. Every one of the incidents involves matters that involve seconds in time. So I commented at the time, I don't see the similarity, and I don't see the similarity now. If it's not similar, that's the whole rule. Those are all the exceptions to 90404. Check the authorities. Wigmore and evidence. Judge Weinstein. Colonel McCormick. It's the prior act has to bear the signature of the accused, or it has to be so similar as to suggest it's a common plan or something like that. You have an incident where he's making comments about some alleged shoplifters versus crimes that involve instantaneous actions, whether premeditated murder or whether self-defense, that's for the jury to decide. But I don't see the similarity. I said it couldn't come in, and it isn't coming in, no matter what you think. Number two, I have to be concerned that with what Mr. Richards has said about the progress of the trial, and when you were well, I said you were over the line, close to, or over the line on commenting on the defendant's pretrial silence, which is a well-known rule. I'm astonished that would have been an issue. So I don't want to have another issue as long as this case continues. Is that clear?
It is.
Thank you. Ask the jury to come back in, please.
Ah, you got in trouble. Ah, fucking dweeb. God, I hate that guy. I just like, there's something about that guy. I just want to fucking knock his goddamn fucking teeth in. Here's Bobby Swove talking about it.
Robbie, what's on your radar?
Well, the trial of Kyle Rittenhouse, the so-called vigilante who shot and killed 2 men and grievously injured a third during the riots in Kenosha, Wisconsin, following the death of Jacob Blake last summer, entered its second week on Monday. The prosecution called to the stand Gage Grosskreutz, who was shot by Rittenhouse but survived. This did not go as planned, as Grosskreutz was very effectively cross-examined by Rittenhouse's attorney, Corey Cherafisi. If anything, it seems likely that Grosskreuz's answer would tend to support Rittenhouse's contention that he acted in self-defense. Indeed, while the most anyone can do is speculate, I think there are good reasons to expect the trial will culminate in an acquittal, a verdict that will probably cause mass media meltdown, and also among Democratic politicians who have already branded Rittenhouse a domestic terrorist. Now, let me explain. Rittenhouse was 17 years old at the time of the shootings and lived in Antioch, Illinois, a mile south of the Wisconsin border. On August 23, 2020, Kenosha police had shot Blake, a black man, during a confrontation with his girlfriend. Blake, who had a warrant out for his arrest on sexual assault charges, disobeyed police orders and instead walked over to his girlfriend's vehicle. Police claimed they feared he was reaching for a weapon and opened fire. Now, Blake did indeed have a knife, and the authorities declined to bring charges against the police for that reason. Blake survived the encounter but was paralyzed. Coming just a few weeks after the police shooting of George Floyd, the Blake incident generated mass protests and considerable violence in Kenosha, with protesters setting cars and buildings on fire. By the night of August 25th, armed militia groups were patrolling the city in an attempt to stop the riots. Rittenhouse ventured into Kenosha armed with a medical kit and an AR-15 semi-automatic assault rifle that had been acquired for him by a friend since Rittenhouse was too young to legally purchase it. His stated purpose was to defend small businesses under threat of arson and looting. He was eventually surrounded by protesters during a series of encounters. Now, video footage of the encounters showed Rittenhouse trying to move away from them. But after a warning shot was fired by another man, then Rittenhouse turned back and engaged a man named Jason Rosenbaum, who was a protester who then did try to grab Rittenhouse's gun. Rittenhouse shot him 4 times, killing him. Rittenhouse was then chased by protesters. He tripped and fell and was attacked by a man named Anthony Huber, who struck him with a skateboard. Rittenhouse shot and killed him as well. He then shot Grosskreutz, who was armed with a gun and moving toward him. Rittenhouse was charged with reckless homicide, intentional homicide, and attempted homicide for those 3 shootings. There are also 3 other charges. His attorneys have argued that he merely acted in self-defense and rationally feared for his life in each of those 3 instances. Now, Grosskreutz may have inadvertently made that argument more plausible for the jury. So when he was cross-examined yesterday by the defense, he confirmed that Rittenhouse did not shoot him until after he had pointed his own handgun at Rittenhouse.
I'm going to show you what has been marked as Exhibit 67. That's a photo of you, yes?
Yes.
Okay. That's Mr. Rittenhouse?
Correct.
Okay. Now, you'd agree your firearm is pointed at Mr. Rittenhouse, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And once your firearm is pointed at Mr. Rittenhouse, that's when he fires his gun. Yes?
No.
Sir, look, I don't want to... Does this look like right now your arm is being shot?
That looks like my bicep being vaporized, yes.
Okay. And it's being vaporized as you're pointing your gun directly at him. Yes?
Yes.
Okay, so when you were standing 3 to 5 feet from him with your arms up in the air, he never fired, right?
Correct.
It wasn't until you pointed your gun at him, advanced on him, with your gun, now your hands down, pointed at him, that he fired, right?
Correct.
Many in the media have focused the case against Rittenhouse on the fact that he foolishly chose to inject himself into a chaotic situation where trouble was assured. He didn't belong there, and thus he bears some responsibility for the deaths. Now, it's perfectly fine to scrutinize Rittenhouse's rationale and to lay moral blame for what happened at his feet. But his self-defense claim has absolutely nothing to do with any of that. It is only about whether he reasonably believed he was in danger at the moment he fired those shots. Grosskreuz's testimony gives significant credence to Rittenhouse's contention that such a belief was valid. It's impossible to say for certain how the trial will conclude, of course, but if Rittenhouse is acquitted, it will not necessarily be because the justice system is broken, but rather because the prosecution failed to establish beyond a reasonable doubt that Rittenhouse's actions were unreasonable at the moments they occurred. Everyone is innocent until proven guilty, and the prosecution just made the task of proving Rittenhouse guilty quite a bit harder for themselves. So I wanted to talk about this because there's been so much, the way Rittenhouse is described in the mainstream media, domestic terrorist, vigilante, that, you know, as if he was like hunting these people for sport. And I want to be perfectly clear that I think it was a terrible idea to venture into this situation, and you can absolutely think that was the wrong call. You can be very upset about what happened, but he is claiming self-defense in the moment those 3 shootings occurred, that he did fear for his life because he was under attack, and that none of the rest of that matters. That, like, why he was there is not, it doesn't matter anything from the standpoint of Wisconsin law. Right. So it just matters whether his fear in the moment was reasonable. And that testimony was, I think, pretty. I mean, there were pictures of like the prosecution guy had his head in his desk after he'd said this, because Rittenhouse didn't point his gun to shoot him until he was like this. And then when Grosskreutz did point the gun, that's when he got shot. So I want the media, I think, needs to prepare itself for an acquittal here on like on those actual facts, which I think are much more favorable to Rittenhouse than we've heard about. And it's not going to be because they refuse to hold this. We have a right-wing justice system that refused to hold a domestic terrorist accountable. It's because they're actually the facts of this case are much more favorable to Rittenhouse than you've heard.
Right. Multiple things can be true at the same time. One is that if he had never shown up with a weapon, with an assault rifle,
absolutely,
at this event, none of this happens. That can be true. Then you say from a legal perspective, each one of the particular shootings likely probably does lead to acquittal on self-defense grounds. The first victim, Rosenbaum, seemed to be one of these people struggling with mental health issues who just vaguely connects himself to protests. If you've been to a lot of protests, you see people like this who are just there, and they're sort of, they're maybe vaguely supportive of whatever the protest is advocating for, but they're also clearly just off. And a lot of people have described him as being extremely aggressive and unpredictable. And people have testified at the trial that he came at Rittenhouse, lunged for his gun, and said he was going to take his gun and kill him with it.
Right.
And so a jury hearing that probably going to say, okay, that if I were in that situation, what would I do? Now, I wouldn't be in that situation, but if I were in that situation, what would I do? Then he starts running, and so the second victim, who hit him.
He hit him with a skateboard.
Huberman hit him with a skateboard. I think, we won't know because he's no longer here to tell us a story. But it is very plausible that he thought that this is an active shooter situation, and he felt that by attacking Rittenhouse with a skateboard, he was going to risk his own life to save the lives of other people. And he have every reason to believe the guys. There's just been shots fired, multiple shots fired, and now you see a guy running with an assault weapon. You think this is an active shooter, and I think it showed courage to, without his own weapon to. Now it turns out that he was not necessarily an active shooter. He was not looking. He was not hunting people down. But then from Rittenhouse's perspective, now this guy's trying to take his gun from him and hitting him with a skateboard, and so he shoots and he shoots him. So again, you could see the jury being like, okay.
The other guy's belief that it's an understandable belief that it's an active shooter situation doesn't speak to the self-defense claim that Rittenhouse is making.
And then the third, Grosquit.
Right, we actually got to hear from him because he survived, and
and there's video of all of this too.
Right,
and you see Grosquit with his arms up like this at one point, and then kind of point his gun at him, which fits with this testimony which he has claimed is not true, that he wishes he had shot him. He said that he never told his friend that, but then you have him admitting, like, yes, I was pointing
it's not,
my
Scruffy, shut up. It's a journalist giving his opinion. It's literally speculation. This is not the court. This is a news program giving an opinion. You fucking spurg.
Gun at him when he shot me. And yeah, you saw, and again, he may have also thought that this was an active shooter situation, and that he was protecting and saving people's lives.
And if he'd shot someone, he could have made the self-defense claim for his. But it so happens this is the person on trial.
I bet if he did shoot Rittenhouse, that he would successfully be able to make a self-defense claim. Right. Because you see somebody running through the streets with a weapon that's pointed at him, like the weapon was pointed at him, and so I could very easily see the jury saying, okay, you admitted you were pointing the gun at him.
Yeah.
At that, which, this is why everybody shouldn't have guns at protests. And and also it says something about the multiracial nature of this movement, that all four of these people involved are white.
Right. Yeah, you can't. Yeah, there's even in sloppy, like, that he's a white nationalist.
All right. I can't deal with those guys anymore. I really dislike Ryan Grimm. He's a very dishonest Democrat. He was the bureau chief for Huffington Post and Intercept. He's just not an honest dude, and I hate that about him. I should bring him to Monster Court. Fuck him. Monster Court, baby. Is that the right one this time? Yep. All right. Where are we at time-wise? Shit, we've already been at this for over 3 hours, huh? All right. What else did I have? Did I have anything really pressing? Oh yeah, keeping with our activity thing. Here's a marathon obstacle course. I don't know. I think that's kind of cool. I like to balance shit out, How about this? Anybody want to call in? Call in. There we go. 612-564-9680. That gets you in touch with me. If you'd like something to call in here at Twitchtok, give it an old call, Rooney.
Ring, ring.
Hello, caller.
Hi, this is Cody. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good. I was just realizing, listening to the Kyle Rittenhouse story, I kind of did that myself. I just didn't open carry with my shotgun outside.
Oh yeah, can't do that.
And the St. Paul riots, I got lots of fun videos and pictures of all the looting and gassing and but yeah, I didn't walk around carrying. I left my gun in my vehicle, and that's why I wasn't probably targeted. It was also middle of the day too, so yeah, if you're walking around with a open carry, you're going to be a target.
Yeah, especially in Minnesota.
I can't figure out how to throw up videos on Discord, but if I could, I could put up the videos of.
Put them in general, or put them in like
Well, no,
whatever
I
the
guess,
subject is. Like they're all broken down by subjects on the Discord, so put them in wherever you want in the Discord. We got like 500 people and like 80 million fucking rooms in that thing. You'll be fine. You got this.
Well, no, I could post pictures, but videos don't seem to upload for some reason. But anyways, it's a technical issue on my side. But
Just get a fucking YouTube and pop it in there.
I got videos of guys like using chairs to bust out the windows and noodles. Active looters looting liquor stores. The guy that actually carrying the hammer that first broke into the liquor store. I got, videos of the police shooting gas canisters at protesters, and it was insane. But yeah, I posted that all on Facebook, and no one even commented, liked it, or nothing.
We'll post it in
weird.
Discord. Jesus.
I'll try again. I think I did in the past.
Get a fucking Rumble or an Odyssey, put it up there, and then just put the link in there. It's not that hard. Why are you acting brand new?
I'm technically challenged. I'm old. I'm not like John, where I'm aged and really good at that stuff.
Uh-huh.
I'll try again.
Okay, I'm hanging up on you now. Click.
Okay. Click.
Anybody else want to call in? Come on in. 612-564-9680. Also, join the Discord, you filthy animals. Elbow didn't work? What? Is it elbows? Yeah, there we go. Let's giant Pakistan ship movement over to that. Let's do. Oh, did I close it? I fucking closed it. There it is. Yeah. Let's do some China in focus. Let's do some China news.
Says it's prepared to confront China's threat. This comes after reports that Beijing has built mock-ups of U.S. warships in a remote desert. Top U.S. officials voiced concerns about the life of a citizen journalist in China. She was sentenced to prison for reporting on what really happened during the height of the pandemic in Wuhan. Beijing has been collecting Americans' DNA data, but what makes those details especially attractive for the Chinese regime? We dive into what drives the effort. Poor air quality remains a major issue in China, but the nation's pollution is now causing trouble elsewhere. A Chinese-owned steel mill coats one Serbian town in dust, sending cancer rates soaring. Germany takes action to ensure stability in the Indo-Pacific. For the first time in 20 years, the country has sent a warship to Japan. Welcome to China in Focus. I'm Tiffany Meyer. The mock-ups of U.S. warships China has built in the desert haven't gone unnoticed. U.S. defense officials say they are aware of China's moves and wary of them.
Potential conflicts with China.
I'll tell you what we're concerned about, Tara, is the increasing intimidation, coercive behavior of the Chinese military in the Indo-Pacific, and also the coercive tactics they are using, using economic tools around the world to bend other nations to their will or to their view of what's in their best interest.
In a news briefing on Monday, Pentagon spokesperson John Kirby said instead of focusing on China's intention behind the mock-ups, which is presumably to practice bombing runs, the U.S. will focus on its own readiness and China's current behavior in the Indo-Pacific.
We're focused on developing the capabilities, the operational concepts, making sure we have the resources and the right strategy in place so that we can deal
I got the
with
volume
PRC
pretty much
as
up.
the
I
number
wonder.
one
Wait,
pacing
hold on.
challenge.
You know what? I wonder if it's on my computer. I feel like the volume has been low this entire show. Let me just double check for you. No, that's at 100. That's at 100. Nothing I can do, man. It's your fucking shit, I guess. I mean, I guess I could do. Let me see if I can do the input up a little bit. I don't know. Nothing I can really do, man. Sorry. Yeah, I don't know. I will try to figure out what's happening here. I think I just need to reset my computer. The problem is I have to set the audio different for Steel Toe, so I think the Steel Toe days, the audio is going to be just a little bit lower. Sorry.
Earlier on, media reports called
I'll try to turn
attention
it
to
up, but
models with the dimensions of
this
U.S.
is as high as
aircraft
it gets here.
carriers
I
and
can't do
other
anything else
warships
about it.
appeared in a desert in China. But China's foreign ministry on Monday denied knowledge of the mock-up U.S. warships. The U.S. State Department says it is deeply concerned about a jailed Chinese citizen journalist. She was imprisoned for reporting on the Chinese Communist Party, or CCP, virus outbreak in Wuhan, China.
Next, the United States is deeply concerned about the deteriorating health of PRC citizen journalist Ms. Zhang Zhan. According to multiple reports citing her relatives' comments, Ms. Zhang is near death. In December of 2020, Beijing authorities sentenced Ms. Zhang to 4 years in prison on charges associated with her journalism on COVID-19 in Wuhan. The United States, along with other diplomatic missions, we have repeatedly expressed our serious concerns about the arbitrary nature of her detention and her mistreatment during it. We reiterate our call to the PRC for her immediate and unconditional release.
Because of heavy government censorship in China, the public often relies on citizen journalists to keep them informed. Zhang traveled to the early epicenter of the CCP virus outbreak in February 2020. She reported firsthand news and captured video of the horrible toll the outbreak caused in the city. She spread her findings on social media until her communication channels were cut. Later, she was arrested and sentenced to 4 years in prison for what the authorities called causing trouble. Zhang told her mother that she won't end her hunger strike protest in the prison until the court clears her name. Her brother said in a social media post that his sister, at 6 feet tall, now weighs less than 90 pounds. He is concerned she won't survive the winter. Zhang's lawyer tried to fly to Shanghai to talk to Zhang's mother, but was hindered at the airport. He said the authorities had manipulated his health information on his mobile phone to prevent him from leaving his city. Before boarding the airplane at an airport in his home city Changsha last Friday, Xie Yang's health QR code on his mobile phone suddenly turned red without any apparent reason. The QR codes are part of China's official contact tracing system. They alert users and authorities when a person comes in close contact with an infected patient. People will only be able to leave the city if their code shows green, meaning a clean bill of health. And the authorities are able to change the code color as they like. As a result of his red code, Xie was not allowed to leave the city. After 2 days, his health code returned to green, also seemingly without cause. Xie said the authorities are misusing pandemic prevention measures to suppress citizens.
They are now using the health code as a tool for control. For the CCP, this is the lowest cost model for maintaining control. If we don't take any legal action, it is likely to be widely adopted in the future.
Xie said he will try to go to Shanghai again to meet Zhang's mother, and he will take legal steps against authorities manipulating his health code. 2 U.S. senators are pushing for a bill that will make it harder for Beijing to get its hands on Americans' personal health data. Before we get to the details of the bill, here's the important background. The Chinese regime has been collecting large sets of data on Americans, especially sensitive health data. And Beijing has been doing it through both legal and illegal means. One of the legal avenues is through buying U.S. firms that handle health data. Like in 2013, China's BGI Group bought an American genomic sequencing firm. And in 2015, another Chinese company bought U.S. firm Nextcode Health. This is one of the loopholes the new bill aims to close. Currently, a U.S. government agency called CFIUS is guarding against these foreign investment deals. If the agency suspects a deal could threaten America's national security, it can recommend that the president block the deal. Right now, if foreign companies want to buy American firms that handle personal data, they are not required to report the move to CFIUS before cutting the deal. It seeks to give CFIUS the power to make companies declare these actions before completing the transaction. Senators Marco Rubio and Raphael Warnock introduced the measure. But foreign investment isn't the only way Beijing can collect Americans' health data. The regime has also been stealing it. One of the most famous examples came in 2015 when Chinese hackers stole health data on over 70 million Americans from health insurer Anthem. The stolen data included names, health identification numbers, social security numbers, and income information. Another important piece of health data Beijing has been collecting is Americans' DNA. DNA is extremely valuable information for Beijing. That's because it provides intimate details about its owner, like whether they're inclined toward addiction or at risk of getting cancer. A U.S. intelligence report says if Beijing gains this information about an individual and can also identify the person, it'd be easier for Beijing to target him or her for manipulation or extortion. For example, data associated with an embarrassing addiction or mental illness could be leveraged for blackmail. Some individuals are also more likely to be targeted than others, like diplomats, politicians, high-ranking federal officials, or military leadership. The report also says Americans' health data may be particularly attractive to Beijing, partly because the U.S. population is more ethnically diverse. And also, unlike other nations, the U.S. has relatively loose control over its health data, so it's easier to get a hold of. Aside from theft and foreign investment, Chinese companies can also get health data through forming business partnerships. Here's how it works. American hospitals and universities are always on the lookout for low-cost genomic sequencing services, and Chinese firms can always offer competitive pricing because they are backed by government subsidies. This opens the door for Chinese firms to get American patients' health data. At least 15 Chinese firms have been able to access American patients' genetic data through providing genomic services. Back on Chinese soil, if Beijing decides it wants data from these companies, they literally cannot say no. They are required by law to comply. Last but not the least, Chinese companies can collect American data through virus testing kits. Chinese gene giant BGI Group has been selling COVID-19 virus test kits to countries including the U.S. BGI found itself in hot water earlier this year. The company was accused of harvesting data from millions of pregnant women. And last year, BGI said it would provide virus test kits to Kansas City. In a statement, BGI said city leaders would buy 50,000 test kits from the company. BGI has eyes on outside America too. Currently, it's sold test kits to almost 200 countries. Back to Beijing, the Chinese regime is serious about its race to becoming a global biotech leader. It lists health data collection as one of its national priorities and has dumped billions of dollars into the industry. Having large sets of data on hand would spell major commercial value for Beijing, as it would help China develop better drugs and health treatments. In the long run, it could even outpace America's biotech industry. This not only means loss of U.S. jobs, but also more reliance on Chinese medical cures and treatments. Economic value aside, the data also enhances Beijing's surveillance abilities. The regime has been mass collecting DNA data on ethnic minority groups and uses that data for control and religious persecution. On top of actively collecting health data from abroad, Beijing is keeping close watch on health data within its borders too. Authorities there have passed a new law, making it very hard for foreign companies to access health data on Chinese patients. Reports of another pandemic-related lockdown incident in China are flowing.
Oh, I'm not even muted. Oh, good. Another lockdown incident in fucking China. Who could have ever seen this coming, right? Like, this is just exactly what I'm fucking talking about. And this is, like, we always let them off the hook, but it just doesn't fucking matter, does it? Ugh. God damn it. I shouldn't even be surprised. Like, that's the fucked up part, right? I don't know what's sadder, the fact that it happens or the fact that I'm surprised by it, right? Dumb.
In southwestern Sichuan, over 30,000 people were held for hours by authorities outside a shopping center. Staff placed the entire shopping center under emergency lockdown, and all shoppers were forced to get virus tested for COVID-19 on site. They weren't allowed to leave until results came back negative. All because one suspected virus patient had paid an earlier visit to the building. Videos posted online show that some people managed to escape the area and avoid the mass testing. But local police later located some of them and forced them to get tested. Authorities say the over 30,000 tests came back negative, and the shopping center has since reopened. Now we look to China's air pollution. Over 90 cities in China were hit by smog starting last week.
There is no Chinese constitution. It's fine.
And almost 30 cities in eastern and northern China were hit by heavy pollution, including Beijing. Photos provided by a Beijing resident shows heavy smog surrounding buildings last Saturday. The resident says visibility had dropped to about 300 feet that day. In recent years, Beijing has had more frequent bouts of smog. The most recent heavy bout was just several weeks ago. Another Beijing resident says it's hard to treat the pollution due to China's political system. In China, each region's economic growth is linked to the officials' political achievements. And pursuing economic growth often comes at a cost to the environment. To protect the resident's identity, we have distorted her voice.
Fixing the pollution would cost a lot of money, and who wants to do that? The authorities often prioritize economic growth and want to boost the GDP numbers as it helps with their promotion. After that, they just went to work in another place. They don't really care about the environmental damage left behind.
Pollution caused by Chinese factories are not only affecting Chinese people, but other parts of the globe, such as Europe. An industrial pollution from a Chinese-owned steel mill coats one Serbian town in dust. Cancer rates quadruple among its residents. Rachel Judah reports.
A few hundred meters from the huge furnaces of the Smederevo steel mill in central Serbia, the village of Radinac is covered in thick red dust. Cancer rates here have quadrupled in under a decade, and residents want the Chinese-owned plant to either clean up or shut down. 70-year-old Zoran, a throat cancer patient who speaks with a voice prosthesis, says locals dry their laundry indoors and use vinegar to clean the dust from their cars.
Everything is indoors. We are not going out. We do not dare because of the dust and pollution. We are breathing in all of that.
According to the local public health body, the municipality of around 100,000 people reported more than 6,800 cancer cases in 2019, up from just over 1,700 in 2011. The plant was bought from the Serbian state for 46 million euros 5 years ago by China's biggest steelmaker, Hissteel. The company rejects claims cancer rates are directly associated to the plant and say they have invested 300 million euros into technology and pollution reduction since the purchase. Yet activists contend the steel mill is an example of Chinese-owned industrial firms ignoring pollution standards. Campaigner Nikola Kristic says analysis of the red dust showed a high concentration of heavy metals.
I think it is beyond comprehension that in 2021 we have to discuss the dust which is falling on our heads. Black dust, red dust, which is greasy, which sticks to lungs, which makes breathing difficult. That we have to speak about slag, which is deposited wherever they find it convenient. To speak about air, which can be smelled and tasted. About people who have to dry their laundry in glass houses.
You can taste air. Get out of there.
Before using them.
Serbia, a long-standing candidate for EU admission with an uneasy relationship with the West, has forged close ties to Beijing, with China investing billions of euros into the country's infrastructure projects over recent years. Serbia's mining and energy minister, Zorana Mihailovic, told Reuters that if companies cannot reduce pollution, they must be fined or must halt operations.
Germany has sent a warship to Japan for the first time in 20 years, joining a mission to ensure safety and stability in the Indo-Pacific. It comes amid territorial disputes and a changing military balance in the region. Here's more.
The chief of the German Navy on Tuesday said the dispatch of a warship to the Indo-Pacific
shows Germany's concern for peace in the region, hinting at but not naming China. He said territorial disputes and a changing military balance could cause extensive impact beyond Asia. Vice Admiral Kai Achim Schonbach told a press conference the warship will pass through the South China Sea to demonstrate its right to sail there without interference.
Und ich nehme Ihren Hinweis auf.
The South China Sea is a global common. That is a sea that belongs to everyone, so it cannot be taken possession of or claimed by anyone if we abide by the international world order.
Schonbach was in Tokyo to mark the German warship Bayern's port call in Japan. It's the first German warship to visit Japan in 20 years. Dignitaries from both countries spoke on board.
The Indo-Pacific is one of the strategically most
What up,
important
brother?
regions of the world. Important
Tampa Terry.
decisions over
How's Tampa
freedom,
Terry, baby?
peace and prosperity in the world are being made here. Deploying our frigate to the Indo-Pacific makes it clear that Germany stands up for our common values.
The Japanese defense minister said the frigate's visit shows Germany is determined to be involved in the peace and security in the region.
This determination will be widely acknowledged. It greatly contributes to the realization of a free and open Indo-Pacific. I hope this will extend to other European countries.
To the Indo-Pacific as the West weighs how to deal with the Chinese Communist Party's coercive military moves, including threatening Taiwan with its airplanes and building
What's up, you bitch-ass bitches? Jantis out! Jesus, this fucking guy. I thought I had him fixed, but I don't. What the fuck? He's got all this Jantis shit all over the place too. What a lame fucking hacker too. Like, that's the thing that pisses me off the most, I think. It's just lame ass hacking, you know? It's just like, why? Oh, god damn it. Yeah, bitch ass ain't even got a show no more. Welcome to Jantis Talk, bitch. Jantis out. This show's over. Fuck all y'all. Bitches and snitches and warlocks and wuzzabubloos. Y'all bitches. Y'all think Twitchtok is all that? Nah, bitch. Jantis Talk. Jantis out, bitch. Don't even deserve any Jantis talk. Get fucked. Jantis out. The show's over. Fuck you. Go into the Discord. I don't give a shit. Go to Venmo. Do whatever the fuck you want. Jantis doesn't give a fuck about you. Jantis doesn't give a fuck about your problems. Fuck you, bitches. Jantis out. Head into the Discord. See what happens. You bitch-made bitches. Jantis out. Y'all bitch-ass bitches. No hype train will fix this. Show's over, bitch. Jantis hates you. Jantis out, bitch.
Jantis.
Fuck you, Twitchtok. This is Jantis talk. Jantis out of the show. Head into the Discord. See what you fucking get. Jantis out. Show's over. Get the fuck out. Goodbye, bitches.